AI agents everywhere as far as the eye can see. You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hi, everyone. It's Alan Shummo. Happy Thursday to you. You're watching Techstrong Gang. We've got a great lineup on Techstrong Gang today. We've got reports from the field. We've got AI agents infiltrating everywhere. And as always, there's security concerns just about everything anyhow. And that never changes. Let me introduce you to our cast of gang members from today, some of them reporting remotely from the road. First off, let's go right to Guy Courier, who is at the Supercomputing Conference, SC24, as you can tell from that snazzy background he's almost in front of. Hey, Guy, how are you?
Paint.
You painted that by hand. It looks like you did a good job.
Thank you.
Oh, you probably had an AI agent do that for you. Who are you kidding?
This is supercompute, not AI compute. Anyway, yes.
They're everywhere. Moving on from supercompute, we're going to come back and actually get an update from Guy on the SC24. But let's move over to Vegas, where our man at OpenText is on the job, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm good. One more day in Las Vegas, and then I'm finally heading home, I hope.
Well, it's been 2 weeks for you.
It has been. I'm ready to go home. Suddenly, New York seems really attractive.
Well, you'll be home for a week and then back in Vegas.
I got maybe 2 weeks, I'm thinking.
Not even. It's Thanksgiving, and then you're back.
No, I thought I had a week after Thanksgiving. Well, we'll see.
No, you don't. It's that week.
No rest, no air.
No, that's in Vegas. You and Bugsy Siegel.
Your 5 countries trip there. Yeah.
Yeah. Next, I'd like to introduce, I've missed her. I haven't seen her in a while on here.
Yeah, I was in Barcelona.
Is that where you were?
That's where I was. I was in Barcelona. It was fantastic. I got there right after the America's Cup was over, but there was still a lot of excitement about New Zealand being the first three-peat in a very
They won it for the third time. Well, they got it down there. I love Barcelona.
Great team. So did the whole America's Cup experience, brought home some swag. It was very cool.
Hope, if I didn't wreck you, Hope Lynch joining us back home in the Raleigh area.
Yes.
Our sailor. Aye. Moving on from Hope, from our sailor to our royalty, our Tsar of Phyllis Anzali.
Don't laugh, though. Don't laugh at me.
I'm not laughing.
Separation.
Yeah, we live in a world where if you say it enough, it will be true.
Yeah.
That reminds me of
It's not the truth. Don't get me started. Let's not go down that road.
That was a blistering edition yesterday. That's all I'll say. It
was blistering.
Well, that was rollicking. I think he put it that way.
Yes, it was a rollick through. Well, you know what? If it wasn't true, it would be funny. But unfortunately, it's the truth that we live in right now. But anyway, John Swartz joining us. John, of course, one of the core gang members here on Techstrong Gang. So, guys, thank you all. Guy, if it's okay, let's go right to you. You know, I don't know if everyone out there is even familiar with what the Supercomputing Conference is, SC24. Why don't you, if you wouldn't mind giving us a report from the field there, but also, you know, a little background for people who aren't familiar.
So Supercompute is an old conference. It's usually called SC. It's a pretty old-fashioned conference. It's kind of charming. They only have one keynote, for example, instead of the 12 or more that seems common these days. You could think of it as a sleepy conference because it's so old. It's very scientifically oriented because it's mostly been about supercomputers and HPC for, going on however many years now, 15 years, something like that. I should have looked that up before I joined the podcast. As recently as 3 years ago, maybe it sort of was a harbinger of what might be coming to the data center or what might be coming to cloud native environments, because obviously high performance computing, very exacting requirements. But then this little thing called AI came along, which let's not get confused. A high performance computing infrastructure is very different from an AI supporting infrastructure, whether for training or otherwise. No point going into the details here, but they're very different. They have different, in particular, mathematical requirements. Nonetheless, AI has been, or HPC has been a critical sort of birthing bed for AI over the years, and now is critical to a lot of HPC. So this show is becoming more and more relevant. In fact, this year there's 17,000 attendees, which is up from 14,000 last year, which was already up from 12 or 10,000 the year before. So it's really growing. And there is a lot of commercial activity. We were just talking last week about KubeCon and open source and all that other sort of stuff. This is the other side of commercial activity from an open research environment. So, interestingly enough, the show this year is less about compute and less about networking, which are long established issues in the industry, as much as now it's all about storage and about cooling, which has, I think, a great impact on all the rest of the industry as data centers turn into, AI machines, AI factories. That's a quote I picked up from one of the press briefings here, where energy utilization and cooling of these systems that are not HPC, that are commercially used by the cloud providers or by enterprise, becomes more and more of an issue. So you're going to see and hear about the technologies here at SC that we are much more quickly going to see out in the rest of the world, whether commercial, open source, wherever it is, very soon, is not already. One of the big announcements this year, for example, came from Phison and Solidigm, which both have debuted 100 terabyte plus, I think they're 120 terabyte roughly, SSDs.
Wow.
This is suitable for cold storage. It's also suitable for basic data storage in the data center, suitable with adaptations that both are targeted to the data center, not so much to AI. But nonetheless, soon enough, we will have adaptations for a high-speed read and write of WAVs, low-level, small-sized data packages and stuff that are used for training or even for inference. So great impact everywhere, but being announced here at Supercompute and first adapted and adopted within HPC environments. The other big thing I mentioned, cooling. We have lots of direct liquid cooling announcements from folks like CoolIT, or from research sources, not direct liquid cooling, but submersion cooling from the Hong Kong Institute of Science and Technology. These are things that are not just related to running these new high wattage systems. I mean, the latest GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD are something like 500 watts each. And so now you're looking at a server that's running 1,000 watts or something like that. And that needs to be cooled. So cool plates and liquid cooling and all that other sort of stuff, this is going to help with that. And then the Hong Kong Institute of Science and Technology Solutions, it's immersion one, that reduced power consumption by something like 80% in their data center, for what's called a low PUE, which is this measurement of how efficient a data center is at supplying power to the IT systems, as opposed to having to supply power to cool or to otherwise condition. So lots of really interesting activity here, interesting perspectives. And need I add, which I will close with, quantum computing and the issues, the opportunities in quantum and the issues required to bring that to life. So lots to talk about and lots to look at here. It's good to see this show grow and also stick to its scientific research and sort of old-fashioned conference roots of one keynote, one plenary session, and a bunch of simple tracks. That's an overview.
Guy, that's great. Hope made a comment on the side channel here that sounds like CES for high computing or high performance environments. What I find really interesting is KubeCon, for all the buzz and so forth. I think they had about 9,000 people.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah,
this is 150% the size of KubeCon.
Well, there are two major supercomputing conferences every year. There's Supercompute here, and then there's ICS over in Europe in the early part of each year. And I think that these have been around for a very long time. And a lot of the exhibits here and displays, there's this whole academic track here where you can see what the practitioners are doing with these high-performance computing systems. Oh, I should add another thing. The fastest computer in the world just debuted yesterday, Monday, here at Supercompute, which is El Capitan, which is the first double exascale system, meaning the official measurement is 1.7 exaflops, but peak of something like 2.8 exaflops. It's being run by the Department of Energy. It's an AMD and HPE hewlett system. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, no, I actually saw a report on that. They're using it to simulate nuclear weapons.
Before we headline news.
Yeah, this is true about what Lawrence Lippert.
That's what I would want to see Lawrence Lippert one's working on.
Better that than actually blowing one up, though, right?
So exactly.
You're making me think of the movie from years ago where the kid was playing the game.
War games.
Let's play thermonuclear war. Matthew Roderick.
The number one system in the world. There's two other systems that debuted on the top 10 because they issue the top 500 list every year at this time. Yeah.
But it was interesting in that El Capitan is HPE has now made the last 8 fastest supercomputers in the world. Now, I remember, I don't know, maybe it was 5, 7, 8 years ago, we were worried that we were going to, the U.S. was going to lose the supercomputer race to the Chinese and or Japanese. And here we are. It sounds like still on top with that. I don't know if that's made everyone's lives any better. Maybe it's making our nuclear weapons better.
Well, in theory, it should help us with pharmaceutical research because there's a lot of chemical applications.
Folding proteins and so forth, yeah. And it should also help with things like climate change, if you believe in such a thing.
It's also a hotbed for the use of AI for research. All the focus on generative AI, it passes over these folks, just sort of washes over them. They're interested in the research and analytical needs that they have. So AI can help, like when you have thousands of possible scenarios to try to figure out which to test, AI helps them determine, still with human review, the best 5 or 6 to test. So you get
pattern recognitions. Yeah.
Are you seeing any folks from 3-letter government agencies walking around? Because
I usually don't wear signs advertising that, but
so the 3-letter government agency that funded El Cap is the Department of Energy, or DOE. But there's another 1 or 2 of them that are also going to be using that system for various 3-letter uses.
But I think one
other than 4-letter. I'm sorry.
No, okay. One other very interesting use that I heard about, and this was a while back, is they've worked on creating a digital double, not a digital twin, but a digital double of the planet Earth for weather forecasting, currents, everything. So instead of wondering what happens, they can speed up, slow down, change the Earth, and figure things out. That would not be possible without these large-scale systems.
Absolutely. Hey, but we shouldn't also lose sight. What was it, 120 terabyte SSD? And I sweat on my Mac. Should I go for the 512 versus the 1 terabyte? But that's crazy to think about.
It's remarkable to me, just comparing to last year, how much of the story here at SC is about storage and cooling. I'm not saying that there's not networking and compute going on all over the place, especially that top 500 list, et cetera, but a great deal of the focus this year is on storage and cooling.
I would say that's AI driven, right? It's cooling down these NVIDIA monster chips, and its AI needs increasingly bigger language LLMs to play with, to train.
NVIDIA's got Blackwell out right now too. So that's the between Blackwell or Grace Blackwell on the one hand and AMD Instinct MI350X on the other hand. You're talking about sort of hybrid GPUs now that handle both AI and HPC workloads in a pretty elegant way.
Really cool stuff. All right, let's take a break. And we're going to come back. I think we've got Mitchell Ashley. They bailed him out. He's ready to come on. When you're running a gag, these things happen. You know, we've got a great legal plan involved too. So anyway, Mitchell will be joining us, and we're going to talk about AI agents everywhere. You're watching Techstrong Bang.
All right, folks, we're back with the second block. And, well, AI agents, we were talking about it just yesterday, but there's demos of them now from Microsoft and OpenText, and they're going to be everywhere. Microsoft is turning Copilot into essentially AI agent central. And yes, you might even think of Revenge of Clippy, because there are these agents everywhere and they pop up and they're going to be in your user interface. And OpenText has a similar idea. There's 15 things that they're calling aviators, and each of those aviators can invoke right now maybe 75 agents, and they're planning on going to 100, but they're going to add agents every 90 days. So there's going to be agents trained for all these different tasks, and we're going to live in a world soon where every productivity application we use is going to have thousands of agents that are trained to manage all these different tasks. I'm not even sure I can remember what each of the agents does. So I guess they're going to pop up and tell me at some point when I'm doing something, and maybe it might feel even a little creepy, dare I say. But Mitch, you're here with me. What's your take on all this?
Well, it's interesting. OpenText is very much taking an approach of a multi-cloud. I mean, one of the big themes is how do we tie all these clouds of content, of information, whether it's an SAP or Salesforce, or you're storing it in your local documents that are part of OpenText. And so they're trying to really kind of blur the lines to make it easier, and they're using AI to do that, to be able to search across that. And they showed a number of demos. And they are delivering kind of predefined agents, and there's a lot of look ahead here too. So they're talking about kind of what's coming. Underlying all this is what they call their Titanium X platform, and the message was Titanium X is real, it's here, and it's very much of let's start to make things more seamless. And they gave several examples, several demos where it's, we want to do weather analysis on, weather patterns for hurricanes and some historical analysis of information. So we're going to pull down information from NOAA and different sources, incorporate that with content that we already have. There's also interesting that in their AI strategy, there's very much you put a lot of trust in us and we will not let you down. We are being very cautious about making sure that all of your content is not going into other people's LLMs, training in anyone else's data, and maintaining a real clear separation of that. Now, as you talk about going across those clouds, things get a little bit more complex, right? With what do I have in SAP? What do I have in Salesforce, et cetera? But they gave an example also of kind of walking through a sales opportunity and how they internally are using their own AI agents in their own RFP responses to other people's RFPs, very much using natural language interface. Here's the question that comes into an RFP, feed it into the Gen AI. Here's the response that comes back, validate it, put it into the response, and cutting down, days of work into a few hours or so. A lot of copy and paste right now, but that'll get smoothed out. So it is the age of agents. We've gone from chatbots to agents. You talk about Microsoft and their announcements. AWS has announcements that are coming out too about their own technology. It's every day things have changed. So, I would pick some partners to work with. I wouldn't pick any one technology because it's just changing too fast.
I'm not sure that we're even going to see all these agents because if you think about it, let's say Microsoft's your primary application and they're going to have an agent. Well, you can invoke an agent that's going to invoke an SAP agent, and that agent will go do something and bring it back to you through the Microsoft agent. In fact, OpenText is supporting Copilot. So we may live in a world soon where the only agents you see are the ones that Microsoft presents to you, and everything else becomes a headless service because you're having an AI agent that's going to go invoke that application and you're never really going to see it. So I think we're playing for dominance over the front end of the user experience, but they simply can't all win.
So they OpenText even redesigned their interface. They call it JADO, data set to take off, to be able to better incorporate AI into the experience so it doesn't look like it's just kind of hanging on. It was bolted on at the end. To your point, Mike, AWS introduced a multi-agent orchestrator. So this is agents agents are really becoming the code name for AI code, right? You can call it an agent, call it whatever, but doing tasks and doing work and doing things behind the scene. But you're right. It is agents managing or processes managing other agents. It's getting very kind of layered here quickly.
So I think what we're seeing, right, pendulum swing, right? This AI agent stuff is new and the pendulum is swinging way to its side. And so as we're seeing here, everybody and their mother is not just making an agent, they're making dozens of agents. And Mike, you're right. We're not even going to remember what all these agents do. And the other thing is, you know the old saying in software, right? Today's product is tomorrow's feature. Well, I say today's agent is tomorrow's sub-agent. We're going to see someone get smart about this and say, hey, you're going to be a master agent, secret agent. We probably write songs about that, like Secret Agent Man. And anyway, but this master agent will have multiple facets of sub-agent routines that it can run. It just makes a hell of a lot more sense to do that than to try to manage literally dozens of agents per person. That's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm starting to hear that out here in Silicon Valley and in some of the conferences that have
There you go.
The concept of the super agents. And I also believe, and I don't know, Mitch and Mike, Satya Nadella refer to this new era of scaling laws and things like test time compute, because that's also starting to get a lot of traction among not just people at Microsoft, but Mark Andreessen has been talking about it. There's some of those types of concepts.
That was specifically wasn't mentioned, kind of that, that sophisticated of a conversation. Not that we aren't having good conversations, but going down that particular path. I think this is more, remember the OpenText community. This is all about data access management. Starting from the document management days, but there's a whole, of course, security layer to this because they have security offerings with it too. So it's from a general user standpoint. I think it's how agents, if you will, in whatever form, if you know they're an agent or not, fit into someone's workflow, and how you can take content and then use that to create other content or maybe feed into processes. They were using some examples of how many of these kinds of attacks have I had? Will help me trace down the kill chain that were happening on a certain kind of attack. And what it reminded me of is we're going to be writing agents to go find out what agents are running, to see what are using too much resources, or maybe they're doing stuff we don't want them to do, right? So there's going to be a lot of natural language queries just to find out what's happening out there because everybody's creating agents.
I think I am seeing and hearing the advent of a new role in organizations, right? Because I tell you, when I log into applications, I get pop-ups. Oh, we have this new agent and here's what it can do. And I click away from it because at that moment, I don't want to hear about it. I just want to get my task done, and reading through all of the instructions on how to use that agent. I'm not here for it at that particular time. But if you think about a large organization rolling these agents out, buying applications, there has to be someone who's going to take charge of change management, educate people, teach them how to use it, because They make it seem like it's super easy, but there's going to be a little bit of a curve. So someone
That's interesting because you're going to almost have to have like a chief agent officer. Right?
Someone.
In a weird sense.
Oh,
It's overwhelming, right? The more you hear.
I mean, it's going to be a lot, and these agents will interact. What are the interactions between the agents? Do you have,
They're into.
yeah. So I'm here for agentic AI. Okay, but does anybody remember when we hated agents? There was this period in systems operations management and IT operations management where every project had to come out and say it's agentless, it's agent free, no agent.
yeah.
So sure, it's easier to manage agents now, I suppose, especially if you have AI agents managing your agents on your AI-enabled platform and so on and so forth, further disaggregate or moving us away from we're all going to become George Jetson. We're going to walk into our office and we're going to have
Waiting for Agent Smith to show up and say, Mr. Anderson.
But why do we hate agents?
Hey, Mitch, can you do that again for us? I will.
Wait, I had a frank conversation with the CEO of
Let's be
OpenText,
frank. No.
and he said, the funny thing about all this is that he doesn't think they're going to be able to charge extra for all this. He says it's all table stakes now, and every application has to have it. And, it's just going to be par for the course. That may not be what Wall Street wants to hear, but, AI agents are essentially free.
So the reason we hated agents was because they impacted system performance. So now, if there's a new type of, I don't know that there would be, but if there's a new type of a system overload caused by agent spawning and agents going out of it or whatever, I don't know. But I scratch my head.
It's going to be a process management dream for somebody.
I'm waiting for Hugo Weaving to show up as Agent Smith and say, Mr. Anderson, the Matrix.
Well, but you say the Jetsons. I don't think it's the Jetsons. I think it's more of a Wally, where we're all tubby little guys sitting on chairs getting no exercise, or worse yet, a true Mr. Anderson, where we're just plugged in the back of our head into a matrix or something.
We are batteries after all. And just keep that.
Say though, if there is an agent for instant translation, no matter what country I go to, I might sign up for that one. I don't have to get it on my phone. Give me some little, I don't know, put a chip in my head.
A little ear thing like Lieutenant Uhura had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something unobtrusive, make me seem like a local, have all the accents and everything.
That Barcelona hangover going on. Oh, that's about.
So all those people who teach second languages are in trouble, is what you're saying.
I see. All right, let's take a break here on agents everywhere and come back and talk. Security concerns, lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! You're watching Techstrong, gang.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
All right, folks, we're back and we're talking about DevSecOps and the rise of Gen AI. And there's a survey of a story on DevOps.com talking about how there's increased adoption of Gen AI, but it also says that people are getting a little bit concerned about the implications Gen AI has on DevSecOps because, well, we're not sure if the models themselves are secure or maybe they have dependencies and issues that go with that. Hope, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but, frankly, I was kind of, my positive spin on this is, hey, we're talking about this much earlier than I expected. So
I think that is the positive spin. To me, it means that the message is getting across. It's not just people standing on the corner, screaming the end of the world. Everybody is walking by, right? People are listening and understanding. They're there is a potential threat there that they need to address. So there is the benefit for code generation, testing, and deployment. But yes, understanding how they can maintain the integrity and the security of their software supply chains while using these tools, because we know it can introduce vulnerabilities inadvertently. Everyone knows about issues where you have a SQL injection vulnerability, or maybe there's some insecure authentication. The developers unknowingly incorporate these into applications using generative AI because they are not hands-on keys with every piece of the code necessarily, depending on how much they're using these tools. And risks related to dependency on external models, because a lot of these solutions are using third-party models, and even issues related to data exposure risks, because you may be sharing code snippets or your data with external services, because how do these services learn how to write the code? They're bringing it in from other places, and maybe they're also sharing some of your code out if you don't have things configured properly. So I think there's upside, but there's a lot of risk. But again, yes, it's great that people are starting to pay attention.
So I have some thoughts on this. You know, and take this from a security person, where it's coming from. I call bull crap on this, right? This is right out of central casting. Oh, Gen AI is starting to get in the software supply chain. Hey, roll with solution with question 26B, security concerns. We hear this. We hear this about that's the knee-jerk reaction. Every time something comes out, oh, this is raising security concerns. To me, this is more, what's more secure, closed source or open source? Well, we used to think it was a closed source. Now we think it's open source. Then we'll think it's closed source. Gen AI isn't going to introduce any more security concerns than we already have in there. We already have AI and agents looking to make sure and test in real time that we're not interjecting SQL or buffer overflows or SQL interjection type of vulnerabilities into code. There's no reason we can't use what humans use for the AI generated code, right? I think all of the things that AI introduces in is no more than what humans can introduce in as well, and no less. This is just typical FUD that we see come in every time, and some security companies rubbing their hands right now because they're about to release their AI security scanner. Dynamic scanning, static scanning, SCA. I now have AI scanning.
I think there is some FUD. Yes, people want to, they want to make a sale, but I think there is a tinge of reality to it, because I know through personal experience, you can get a little lazy using AI, right? You can get a little lazier. Maybe you're not.
But here's the beauty of AI. AI never gets lazy. And I could use my AI to check my AI.
You can, but the human has to do something to ensure that that happens, right? And that is the crux.
I think as a part of my CI/CD pipeline factory, whatever, once my AI to put some code into my repo or whatever, I automatically run a different AI security scan on AI-powered security scan, looking for buffer overflow.
That would happen.
Well, here's how I look at it. Compared to what? Gen AI code, generated code, is introducing security vulnerabilities any more or any less?
It's the same.
It isn't automatically going to mean that it's going to be less secure. It's just a different programmer writing it, different developer writing code. So, it's interesting when I talk with test people about, like I was just talking with someone from the online grocery shopping company yesterday here at OpenText. I said, so if your developers start using generated code coming out of Copilot or any other thing, how are you going to change your testing strategy? He said, I'm not changing it at all. We're going to treat it just like another developer. Like hiring a new person on staff. We don't know how good they are at the security or quality or any of those things. So the test people are taking it with in good stride. Why don't the security people?
I guess, or hope. Do you think that the approach here is going to be the same as, at least in my understanding of a lot of security approaches over the last 20 years, which is a little bit of like lip service, but basically not a whole lot of investment in control. And then when the disaster happens, a lot of scrambling to.
This is an old story in security. When people give a crap enough to vote with their pocketbooks, we'll see better security for AI generated code, not before.
I think it tends to be disaster. It tends to be responsive and reactive too.
That's always the best time to sell security, right? When Mitchell and I did Still Secure, I remember coming in one day, I said, Mitch, I got a great idea. We should go hack people and then try to sell them.
There are a lot of people out there that think security companies do that. So
More than one afternoon sitting in the waiting room to visit with a customer that they got hacked that day, and we're like, okay, we'll be back tomorrow, and they had a great conversation.
But to your point, though, I think some of it is just for security companies. They need to change their software, maybe in some minor ways, to account for AI tooling, generative AI tooling, how those.
If the market demands it, not one day before.
Yeah,
the market,
and a lot of them are going to win. And on this,
2 words: zero trust. Zero trust of code that gets created by whatever source. I don't care who it is, what it is. Let's make sure that it's.
I say you were going to go all Mrs. Robinson on us there.
I was going to do my Nixon for a moment there, but I pulled back and just did it.
I will tell you the problem from the human side, right? So these AI agents show up and they create this code for you, and they they make it feels like this is the best code ever written in the world, and it doesn't like say, hi, we created this for you and you should maybe, verify this and check this out and run a test on it. And so people, suddenly trust the AI too much. And then the next thing you know, there's these vulnerabilities in there. So, it would be great if there was a process and it was automated and everybody did the right thing. But I wish that some of these AI agents were less, confident and just kind of just said, here's our suggestion rather than, here's the best thing in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, the AWS's not Copilot, their coding environment that just went GA, App Studio, that's the name of it. They very much have a process of, you bring up your code from the repository. I want to make this change to it. You give it a natural language prompt. It comes back with this recommended change for you to review. It's not necessarily doing a qualitative review. It's expecting you to say, to your point, Mike, is this good, bad, or do I want to implement it or not? So there's changing code and just kind of sticking into the pipeline, and just like another developer would, and assuming it's all good. And there's also sort of a guided process to this. And until we kind of trust what the Gen AI is doing, I think we're going to review it in most cases. Now, whether that review's any good, human in the loop. It's our job to do a good job.
Absolutely. Be interesting. Anyway, hey guys, I got to tell you, this was a very efficient Techstrong gang today. Kudos to our gang members. Well, I guess we're getting good at it. We've got a full day of Techstrong TV following this, so as usual, do that. Mike, Mitch, you guys are broadcasting live from that open text event, and that'll be up here on Techstrong TV as well. So good stuff there, and we'll be back tomorrow with an awesome Friday show of Techstrong Gang. God, you headed home today? You got another day over there?
Yes.
You go.
I was home for the weekend, but yes, I am heading home and heading into Thanksgiving week. Yay.
Well, enjoy. And to all of our viewers out there, if we don't catch you tomorrow, and maybe you're not working many days next week, as many people don't, have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you for watching Techstrong Gang. We're out.
Techstrong TV.
Hey everyone, it's Alan Schimmel. Welcome to another Techstrong TV interview. We're glad you're joining us. I got a first-time guest here on Techstrong TV, so let's give him a nice reception. His name is Marty Marugel. Marty is the CEO of a company called Alchemer. That's Alchemer. And Marty, welcome to Techstrong TV. It's great to have you on here.
Thanks, Alan. Great to be with you today.
Great. Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Marty, we're going to get into what Alchemer is and what you guys do there. But before we do, I always like to let our audience know who they're talking to. And I'm always interested in CEOs. I'm a CEO myself, been a co-founder of multiple venture-backed companies. I always like to hear people's journeys. How did they come to be CEO? There's usually a lot of passion involved, a little bit of craziness, a little luck, a little of this and that. But tell us your story.
Well, Alan, I have all those ingredients, quite frankly.
Most of us do.
So I actually started in transportation and logistics, spent 12 years in that industry, spent a lot of time in automotive assembly plants and oil refineries, chemical plants, basically looking at raw materials coming in, shipping finished goods going out of these production facilities. And after about 12 years, I said, you know what, it's time to kind of switch industries. The company was being acquired. And I said, I'm either going to go into software and technology or I'm going to go into pharmaceuticals because they had way better margins than transportation and logistics companies did. Mm-hmm. And so I actually started with a company called SAP in the late 90s when Y2K was happening. And I'm sure a lot of your audience can relate to those days. It was crazy times. And I actually started by writing business cases to justify, the large cost of implementing an ERP system like that to boards of directors and executive teams. So it gave me an understanding of how software worked, how it impacted business processes, and then what the value of that was to the income statement and the balance sheet, right, of a company. I think it was a great introduction to technology. And then over the course of 22 and a half years, I worked my way up through SAP, and my last position was an executive vice president responsible for customer success. I actually implemented SAP's first customer success global program, where we brought together all of the different customer success organizations across the company's cloud organization. So at the time, company had acquired Concur, they acquired Ariba, Success Factors, Hybris, you name it. There were about $40+ billion of acquisitions, but there was not one uniform customer success program. So the last thing I did at SAP was I brought all of those teams together in one unified customer success motion and one engagement model with our customers. Then the pandemic hit, and I said, man, I'm tired of flying to Europe and Asia every other week. And I was going to take a year off. And a friend of mine called me at Citrix and said, hey, come help us. And I was their chief customer officer for about a year and a half. And then they were acquired by private equity.
Yes.
And I said, I'm finally going to take my break. And then one of the private equity firms called and said, hey, we'd like you to come back over to one of our portfolio companies. And I was the chief operating officer at an ed tech company. And then I did take a year off finally, and spend some time with my family and my two daughters, my wife and my two daughters. And then I started to take some calls, and I had several opportunities, Alan, quite frankly. And this one with Alchemer really resonated for me because I had run customer success teams. I had been responsible for customer success at large scale, companies like SAP. And then also medium-sized companies like the EdTech company, where as COO, I had responsibility for support, professional services, customer success, et cetera. And so I came at this from a practitioner's point of view. I've used these tools and technologies, and my teams have used these tools and technologies. And I just saw a great opportunity. I saw in Alchemer a company that was easy to use, easy to implement, fast time to value, great total cost of ownership. And for mid-size enterprises, it was a perfect combination. And so we have a great opportunity moving forward to really take customer success, employee sentiment analysis, digital and digital product evaluation and product feedback and product sentiment analysis, and really take it to the next level. And so we're owned by KKR. So we've got great financial backing. We've got a great vision in front of us in terms of customer success and where we want to be and the types of tools and technologies and solutions we want to bring to our client base. And I just see unlimited potential in this company. So that's my journey. That's why I joined Alchemer. Super excited about where we're moving forward.
Fantastic. What a great story, man, right? First of all, look, in today's tech world, how long were you at SAP?
22 and a half years.
Unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Kind of that, I think the average tech worker these days is staying in there all about 18 months, right? And then they hop around. It's crazy.
You know what's interesting, Alan, is like every 2 to 3 years, I had a new opportunity. So it always felt, and the company was big enough where it felt like I was doing something new all the time.
Right. And that's so, look, as a CEO, that's something I try to bring to my people. I'm not SAP. We're not SAP. We're smaller. But people always need fresh jobs, right? Fresh areas to explore. Doing the same old, year in and year out. You can do it for 3 years, 4 years, but you got to keep adding stuff to the mix, I think, to keep it interesting and keep growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed. So you mentioned a little bit about Alchemer, but I want to really focus in now on Alchemer.
Yeah.
And as I said, a lot of our audience here is not familiar, or this is their first impression, but Alchemer is, I'm going to ask you, you're better at it than me. How would you describe Alchemer to our audience? What problems do they solve? What's their product or service like?
Sure. So, we provide customer sentiment analysis and feedback for our customers. And, we really believe that feedback really empowers product teams and customer success teams and human resources and other functions. So we provide the data that allow them to really take advantage of the pulse of the customer, whether that customer is an external customer, it's an employee, right? And so we really take this feedback and we provide the insight and analysis for those teams, those executives to take action. So you mentioned your audience is technical. A lot of your audience is technical, and one of the big use cases and personas that we work with quite often is product management, head of product, CTO, chief product officers, CPOs, and they use our technology, for example, to get an understanding of what's happening with their applications. So an example would be, I'll give you an example. A healthcare company, for example, in North America was basically launching a new digital app as part of their digital transformation strategy. And they were going to shut down their call center, right? And so they were moving from a very manual-based support for their customers to digitizing and automating that entire process. Before they launched, that was a big cutover. And so before they did that, they used our in-app features and solutions to gauge the customer sentiment around, will this app actually be able to replace the call center support and services that were offered previously. And so as time went on, they changed kind of how they were asking the questions, the in-app prompts, that were delivered to make sure that when they made this cutover, it was going to be successful and they weren't going to lose any customers, lose any revenue, and make sure that there was a continuity of service overall for the healthcare system. And so that was very successful. So that's an example of the product team working with the customer success team to make sure that as they're digitizing these processes, that they're keeping the pulse on customer and customer feedback, and that it's successful. So the product launched, the application was successfully launched, and the company saved millions of dollars by moving and digitizing all of those processes. So that's one example of launching a new app, and we can provide in-app prompts. So for if you're on your iPhone, your Android, and you see an app, sometimes the product team will launch a simple prompt that says, "Do you love this application? Do you love our company?" And a simple response might say, if they say yes, hey, we'll take them right to a rating. Give us a simple rating, 1 to 5 stars, etc. And so product teams also use us to improve their application ratings, which obviously this, Alan, right? It's super important to have high app ratings to increase adoption of your applications, whether it's on the iOS platform or the Android platform, etc. We also do the same thing on the website, right? So any digital experience, whether it's a mobile experience or a web experience, etc., we can provide these in-app prompts to drive this feedback. A lot of times, a product team will also say, we want to launch this new feature, and so an example of this is like FanDuel, right? The sports betting company. They're launching new features. They're entering new states, and so they want to make sure that they keep their pulse on their customers, and they also they use a refer a friend concept in the application. And so it is a way for them to exponentially increase adoption of their applications as they roll out across the country and across the world with sports betting. So again, product teams thinking about how do we drive usage and adoption of our applications. Another use case, on the technical or product side would be, let's say they had a glitch. We launched an application. Let's say we launched an application on Android and iOS. We had a glitch. Now a lot of our loyalty members are upset because they couldn't complete the transaction. They couldn't get the information they wanted. So a lot of times we'll actually we can do segment analysis and look at what segments have been impacted by this glitch, and then maybe prompt them with a coupon code or some kind of a reward, or maybe just surveying and saying, hey, we apologize for this. What was your experience like? We want to improve. And then they provide feedback back to the product teams to make sure that going forward, that in-app experience is much better. And so we have many cases where we make sure that if there was an issue at launch and the ratings and reviews go down, we can actually improve the ratings and reviews through the love dialogue in our digital applications to improve that, and working hand in hand with our product teams and our customers to create the right experience for their customers in the mobile applications. So, just another example. And then you can also use digital for just prompting customers if you're introducing a new feature or a function. Hey, do you like this? It's been 6 months, so you can actually schedule when you prompt the customer. So you can do it, on a week later, a month later, 6 months later, depending on when you launch an application, and then ask the customer, what do you like about this? What new features or functions would you like to see in this application? Again, coming back to the product teams. And then, another use case would be if you want to prioritize, right? And as you're building your product roadmaps with these product teams, understanding what are the key priorities and features and functions the customers really want and covet and value will help drive that product roadmap. And then as a product leader, as a chief product officer, as a CTO, you've got to go to the CFO to get funding, right, for new features, for new products. when you have the data from customers that say exactly what features and functions are going to resonate with them, your story and your value becomes much more powerful around the product features, around the product roadmap, and getting that funding for the product roadmap moving forward.
Got it. You know, Marty, these are all great examples and great use cases. You know, the ribbon that runs through them all is forever and a day, companies have at least given lip service or expressed the desire to understand what it is their customers want. Because if we know what our customers want, we can sell more, right? And we have happier customers. At its very simplest, basest, right thing, that's what it is. However, it's funny what happens on the way to that happy customer, right? We don't often have a tool like Alchemy, right, that allows us to really understand or give insight into what that customer's desires are, what the customer's wants are, what that customer's experience is. And far too often, and this is my own experience, you know, in several companies, is we think we know. We think we know. We think we've walked a mile in those shoes. But we haven't. We've only been at it on this side of it. And so you make fundamental decisions, and I've been there and done it, fundamental decisions that wind up, you know, affecting the trajectory of your company and its success. Why wouldn't you want to know as much about your customer and their experience as possible? Anyway, Marty, Alchemer, as I said, is ALCHEMER. What's the website? Is it alchemer.com?
It sure is, Alan.
So people could go on there and get started, or at least grab more information.
They can.
We're over time. I apologize. I know it's supposed to be 15 minutes. We probably ran a bit here, but that's okay. It was great hearing from you. It was great meeting you and hearing your vision on this. So we'll invite you back on. Maybe next time we'll go a little deeper. But hey, best of luck with Alchemer. It's alchemer.com, ALCHEMER. Check it out. Marty, pleasure meeting you. We'll be in touch. You're watching Techstrong TV. We'll be back in a minute.
This is Techstrong TV.
Hey everyone, we're back here live in San Diego for Qualys Security Conference, QSC 24 Americas. It's been a great 2 days. We're getting near the end here, wrapping up. We saved one of the best guys here for last. Dino DiMarino.
Yes, sir.
Originally from Ottawa, but now hailing out of Wesley, Massachusetts. Okay. What school's in Wesley?
You got, you've got Wellesley College.
Wellesley,
which is where Elizabeth Shue went, by the
yes.
way. And Babson College, which I
you know,
think
they have their thing going on today, I think, AMD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Babson College, which is now one of the top, I think,
is
10
the
colleges.
top liberal arts, I know a kid who went there.
So right in our hometown now.
Very
Home-ish
cool.
town.
Yeah, all right, happening. So Dino is the Chief Revenue Officer for Qualys, correct?
That's right, yeah.
You know what? So people are going to say, oh, a sales guy, I'm shutting it down. But there's a lot of sales guys who have a lot of tech chops.
Yeah.
Tell us about your
Especially
chops.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, if you think about the, my chops, I'll explain more importantly my team's chops. So we have a pretty unique go-to-market model here. We do have folks that are in business development and sales, but probably over half of my team are ex-practitioners, ex-solution engineers, ex-solution architects, and some cases implementation folks. So the ethos of the company has always been to drive as much value for our customers as we can. We're a profitable organization, and so by proxy, we've had to make some trade-offs as to where we want to invest, and we've sort of really valued the technical aptitude of our sellers so that they can provide as much value to customers as we can, make sure that the technology is well adopted, utilized, et cetera.
Sure. So we actually interviewed, is it Kevin O'Keefe?
Yeah. So he's extension merchant.
Ex-practitioner.
You got it.
Right? He was a customer.
Yep.
And that's how he came on board here. And we had a really good chat with him about the VMDR and stuff like that. So
yep.
If that represents,
that's
I guess,
a great example of
what you got.
Yep, 100%. And for me, I think part of the reason Sumad, our CEO, hired me is an appreciation for the category, which is cyber, the problem space that we're trying to solve, and the technology that we're building, evolving every single day, right? A lot of which we talked about the last couple of days at QSC.
Talk to me a little bit about your background before Qualys.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been in cyber for 15 years now. Started my career at Dell, then moved to a company called EMC, again out of Massachusetts.
Before Dell bought them, or
before
after?
Dell bought them, that's right.
That's how you wound up in Mass.
Yeah, and then
Hopkinton.
That's right.
I've been there.
And then I ended up sort of moving divisions into RSA's security division, which is part of EMC. And was running Canada, and then had a bunch of different management roles, moved to the US in 2013, and then worked for a company called Mimecast, so a mid-market email security company. Sneak, which is one of the world's
I know them very well too.
AppSec companies.
Sure. Well, we're DevOps.com, so we
absolutely
obviously cover Sneak quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of similarity in what we're trying to do with Enterprise True Risk and what Sneak is trying to do as it relates to developer security. And then I've been at Qualys about 18 months now, so it's been a great journey.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, Qualys, look, as someone who's been in the security industry 30 years, right? Qualys represents sort of a unique play in security, right? They're one of the foundational players in the vulnerability space.
Yep.
But they've made a really great transition to vulnerability plus, if you will, right?
Yep.
Agents, endpoints, all different AppSec kind of stuff, risk.
Yep.
And if you ask me what's the one word to describe this year's QSC, it's risk.
Amen.
So let's talk about that. How does that translate to you talking and your team talking to customers, trying to change the conversation, saying, hey, your board doesn't care about how many critical vulnerabilities you have or how many patches you did, or they want to know dollars and cents.
Yep.
What's my risk?
And
how do you sell that?
I think we do sort of acknowledge that first of all, vulnerability management is and will be a key pillar to anyone's program, right? But ultimately, it's an operationally centric technical.
It sits down here.
Yes, not strategic. Yeah. And a board, boards are probably aware of vulnerability management and sort of the high level concepts of it, but they're much more in tune with risk, right?
I'll tell you something. In Still Secure company I had started back in early 2000s, we had a vulnerability management tool called VAM, Vulnerability Assessment and Management. After talking to a lot of our customers internally, we called it the bad news generator.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was.
Yes.
We would scan these things and say, hey, good news. Here's 2 million.
More findings.
Right, here's 2 million vulnerabilities. Get busy.
Yeah.
People, the board didn't really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think they want to know ultimately, because I sit in our board meetings, right? Are we getting more secure, and do we have less risk than we did a quarter ago, or are we moving in a different direction? Has something changed that's material that we should talk about, or are we simply getting better visibility and still now need to sort of burn down that?
And you really want me to authorize you to increase your budget by 20%?
That's been a huge change, I'd say, since COVID has wound down. Is budgets we estimate, and we've got IDC and others sort of validating, they're only going up, but inflation maybe plus 3 to 5%. So the number of toys that our various competitors and peers can sort of sell to a CISO are going to come under much more constraints. So quantification of risk is going to be, we think, the absolute game changer, not just for Qualys, but for CISOs.
No, I think that's where the industry has to go. Well, and you just hit on something that really, look, I've been around for the rise of the CISO. You have too, 15 years, right? The average CISO life expectancy was about 18 months.
Almost as bad as the CRO, yeah.
Well, not quite as bad as the CRO. I could tell you stories about CROs, man. Oh, man. But anyway, but no, seriously, the CISO, he come in, he either architect the stack, the security stack, and they say, thanks very much, you can now be a security admin, or you can hit the road. But I'm not paying you as a C-level. Or he could learn to talk business talk. And the problem was, even if he learned to talk business talk, he couldn't translate. There was no Rosetta Stone to translate security to business talk.
And here's what I think. I think meeting with all of our customers and prospects and partners this week, CISOs have been asking for what we call enterprise true risk management. They just didn't know we were going to call it that for years. Like, to their credit, they knew what the problem was, at least the more forward-leaning ones. It's just the technical capability to deliver it. has been a pretty difficult task. And so the fact we've been able to join what we're driving with ETM around the various technical components to sort of aggregate the telemetry you need to now actually have a business conversation. Not a new concept, but as I like to tell people, it's easy in principle, hard to execute. And so we're pretty proud of the fact that we're able to bring these pieces together.
I'll tell you something, Dino, maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I did a panel at RSA. I moderated. It was how to talk to your board about security. And I had a couple of analysts, and I had a couple of CISOs. I think there were 4 people on there, so maybe 3 and 1, 3 CISOs and an analyst. And the consensus was they were advocating dumbing down. Look, the board's never going to understand what we got to tell them. We got to dumb it down. So we just tell them things are very good or very bad. It's red, it's green, it's yellow. I got a dashboard for you. And you know what? That went over like a Led Zeppelin, right? I mean, that didn't translate to them. They didn't have a translation tool that allowed them to translate security risk to dollars and cents risk. And I think that's the golden key here.
100%. And being able to then acknowledge that while, reputational risk is always, something that should be top of mind.
And you can't put it's hard to put dollars on it.
But you can now start to understand the operational risk cost, et cetera. And then you spend your time on the things that are maybe more qualitative versus quantitative. But up until now, people have just been trying to stitch together just millions.
I'll tell you, the red, yellow, green kind of nonsense.
Right. It just gets overly abstracted, I guess, is the challenge.
It's dumbed down, and people on boards are not dumb. They may not be security experts, but they're smart people. And if you talk their language to them, and that, look, I will tell you, I've managed a few sales teams in security in my day. It's hard finding people who could talk that language to them as well, right? And I'm happy to talk to you about this, right? So you go into your average organization, you got your technical champion, you've got your business champion, and then you've got your kind of financial stakeholder, the guy who signs a check, right? Sometimes 2 could be 1, but those are the 3 personas. When you're talking selling risk, like this new product, who are you selling that to?
Well, I think ultimately I'm a big proponent of you've got to sell at all levels. So I don't think it changes the fact that we need to have, what I'll say, some level of connective tissue and belief from the technical folks that we can help them with their day-to-day operations. I think what this does is open up the opportunity to get higher in an organization and have a value-add discussion versus
so it allows you to come top down versus bottom up.
And you have now the ability to do both, I think. I think the persona you mentioned that's going to be a bit unique for us now, the term CFO has never been thrown around more at a QSC or any conference I've been at than this one. And we have partners saying we actually think, especially in mid-market, that we can start to have roundtable discussions or even one-to-one discussions with not only CISOs, but their counterparts in finance to help them sort of bridge that gap between the financial side of the house and then the cyber risk side of the house. So we're excited about that opportunity.
Absolutely. So how old I am, this whole thing has come full circle. When I first got into security was not part of IT.
It was part of finance.
It was part of the CFO. That's who we always used to sell to, and it was hard to sell to them. Because they certainly
I wouldn't want to
didn't
sell to our
understand
CFO.
security. No.
She's tough.
Yeah, well, they all are. I've never met one of who's a push. Well, that's not true. I don't even want to get into it. But anyway, it's a very different decision, and you're not going to sell them with bits and bytes. And speeds and feeds and all that stuff. You need to talk their language, what they understand, and it's dollars and cents.
Absolutely. So that is definitely a change for us that, it's early days as far as not the technology now that that's released, but more how we're going to have that conversation.
Well,
So
that's
we're in
my
that-
next
that
question
learning.
to you. Does it scare you a little bit? Because in some ways you're doing the missionary role here. You know what they say about missionaries, right?
Yeah,
The
unfortunately.
cannibals eat you, and then some guy comes along and picks up the scraps, right? Because you machete through the jungle.
The trailblazers.
Yeah.
I mean, are we nervous about it? I don't think so. I mean, I think Sumit has had enough conversations as we've been getting ready for this launch, as have I and many of our product leaders that you interviewed this week. I think that the part that maybe keeps me up at night, it's another thing CISOs hate being asked, but I do actually I'm kept up at night on how do we disseminate this knowledge to our technical account managers, our account executives, so that they get comfortable with it. Because I think if we do, we'll actually create enough separation and value from potential competitors where we will we won't be eaten. But I think you're right. If we don't execute on that part, which is on my shoulders to do, then certainly that is a risk. No pun intended. With what we're
I
trying
get
to do
you.
here.
We could quantify that risk, though. Can't I'm
Yeah,
only
we can.
kidding.
My whole world is quant.
Yeah, I get it. But
Measure
no,
everything.
you know what? But here's the thing: it is a potential game changer, and opportunity knocks only a few times, and if you don't answer the door,
Yep.
you'll never win. So you got to put your one foot in front of the next and go for it,
Just
right?
keep going. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, man. I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dino DiMartini, CRO. Dino DiMartino.
DiMarino.
DiMarino. Where did I get DiMartino? It's late in the day here in San Diego. It made a little rhyme even. Man,
right.
Dino, thank you very much,
Yes,
man. I appreciate
pleasure.
you. All right, good luck with this. Keep us posted too, because this is going to be, RSA's next the end of April, May. We do our thing there every year. It's going to take, I think, that long to kind of see how this, washes out. I'd love to hear what you're hearing and seeing, and
I think we are.
changing
I think in a good way. I think we're a bit beyond incubation because we've been talking about this for a while. And like I said, customers have been asking for it. They don't always ask for certain capabilities that cybersecurity come out with. So I think you're right. I think by April we'll have some really good learnings, things that we're going to change, do differently, and double down on for sure.
Very cool.
Looking forward to it.
I'm going to get it right. Dino DiMarino. Dino, what did I say? I feel like I'm in California and God knows what they've given me my food here. All right, man.
Very nice.
Dino, man. Thank you.
To meet you. Talk soon.
All righty. We're out.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
This is Techstrong TV.
Hey, everyone. We're back here live at KubeCon, Salt Lake City, where it's cold. But it's, you know what, when you live in South Florida, it's nice to get cold for a few days, just a few days to remember what it used to be like.
Absolutely.
And then go home. My next guest is someone we've been involved with at Dell for years, but always behind the camera, right? If you've watched our KubeCon coverage in years past, my friend Brad Meltz was, I forgot, was it the DevOps team or the DevRel?
DevRel team. Yeah, product management.
Yep, and Brad's moved into another role at Dell. But really, the power behind the throne was this woman right here, and now she's out front and center, Jen Aspesi.
Yep, good enough.
Close, you said
That's
it.
close. Aspesi.
Aspesi. I always, from New York, but okay. Aspesi. Jen, first of all, welcome for your first time in front of the camera here with us. I didn't want to embarrass you, but you have been kind of pulling strings, sort of like the Godfather or the Godfather behind there. But tell people a little about your role at Dell.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been really a pleasure over the past few years. And I was joking with the team earlier today that I'm like the generative AI of Brad for this event, only with more
the
hair.
Digital twin.
Exactly. I like that.
Okay.
I like that. But yeah, so I've been in the industry for over 20 plus years in the infrastructure space. So my background really was storage. With EMC Corporation.
Sure.
And I was head of technical marketing engineering for virtualization for a spell. I did the technical marketing engineering piece for a very long time. And in the past 5 years, I've gone into global marketing, where I really wanted to bring the customer use cases and stories into the marketing space, which in a hardware space predominantly can be challenging, right? Because we like to sell hardware, right? That's really been our bread and butter. But then this shift between traditional IT to modern data and applications in IT, I really had to dig in and focus on DevOps and automation. So that's what I've been working on to build in our organization for the past 5 years.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, I just want to talk about your organization. We mentioned Brad moved on.
Mhm.
It's not really called DevRel anymore.
Correct.
It's kind of DevTech.
Correct. Right. So yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, so what we did, what was really amazing having a DevRel team was they really provided us with the education resources that we've needed for our pre-sales teams. And, we've always had a cloud team, or what you would say a cloud native type of specialized group of pre-sales engineers, but we really needed to strengthen that. So between educating them through DevRel, we've expanded that organization to 600 plus. So we do the usual brown bags, and we do all of the things that we need to meet with customers all around the globe now to really have the conversations with our customers that, they're still, remember, our customers, they're IT admins predominantly. And many of them are still trying to figure out how to do DevOps, and now emerging platform engineering. That's a whole other space that we need to evolve to. So that's what we're doing. We're expanding globally to have those conversations.
Excellent. Jen, I wanted to discuss 3 topics with you
Sure.
today, if we can. The first one is, look, VMware obviously got purchased by Broadcom.
Yep.
That whole hypervisor way of doing cloud, it's not obsolete. It's still predominant probably, but it's long in the tooth. Today the new stack, right? The new compute stack is Kubernetes and microservices and these things. Some people say, oh, that's very different than virtualization. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these new compute stacks are actually built on a hypervisor. Well, it could be bare metal too, but they're on hypervisor. Let's talk about, the whole virtualization subject at Dell and how you guys approach this.
Absolutely. So, let's be real, right? We had VMware as part of the company for so long.
Yes,
right?
you did.
A ton of our customers, and when we say ton, probably
More
all
than
of
once,
them.
but go ahead.
Yeah, they all have virtualization in some area of their space. And when Broadcom bought VMware and the things that have transpired, it to be blunt, it's pretty obvious that customers are struggling with what to do with their VMs, right? And when containers came about, it really was the story, are containers going to take over VMs? And our position is it's everything goes, right? We want to make sure that the workloads that our customers already have in VMs, they stay and evolve right? So we have a few things going on. We have Apex Cloud Platforms for Red Hat OpenShift, as well as Azure. And we support the virtualization piece with the Red Hat OpenShift to be able to move workloads into containers and be able to be managed through Kubernetes, right? That's the first piece. Mm-hmm. And then also recently, our container storage modules for our storage arrays across all of the power arrays, we'll call them. You can do KubeVirt now, which is supported, which I love KubeVirt because it allows us to really present virtualization to containers in a way that anyone can use. And so we've supporting that as of last week with CSM 1.12.
Okay.
Yeah. But also I want to talk a little bit more about another well-known partner, which is SUSE. Right, SUSE, we did a demo yesterday here on the floor of Harvester with KubeVirt and our storage as well. So, we're really broadening these niche open source, opportunities with things like KubeVirt to be able to enable the ease of migration for customers in this space. So there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It would be a shame to have, us drop the ball on virtualization.
No, well, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think, what they say, old technologies never die like old generals, right? They just kind of fade away. But the whole virtualization is going strong. And the other thing, like you look at SUSE and you look at a lot of the this whole community here is built on open source.
Yeah.
But you look at this open source, and what starts out as a niche today becomes tomorrow's mainstream.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
And when you're Dell, look, I've worked with Dell for 28 years, 30 years. My first time working with Dell. Dell never likes to go in and be the first person in a market. They like to see it in a market that emerges and has a sizable market.
Yeah.
And then they go in and try to get a sizable percentage of that market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So the fact that you're here seeing these niche markets right now means that Dell feels that these are going to be sizable markets.
Yeah.
And you're going to stake your claim, your share of those. Speaking of sizable markets, you can't throw a stick without talking about AI and generative AI. And some people are saying, oh, it's never going to live up to the hype. Some people are saying, you ain't seen nothing yet. Talk to us a little bit about, kind of the Dell outlook here.
Yeah. So, Red Hat OpenShift seems to be our go-to right now. Apex Cloud Platforms really opened up opportunity for us with customers that are using OpenShift to also be able to manage their workloads with AI. Okay. And that's one piece. And that's great. That's a solution. That's an offer. The way that I look at AI, I really look at it in two avenues as it relates to Dell Technologies. Our infrastructure is built to support the workloads that build your AI ops, right? Or your generative AI tools that you're going to choose to use. So that's one piece. And I could talk ad nauseum about build your automation processes so that you could be faster at developing your AI learning, right? Inferencing, whatever. But then you have coding. Coding is starting to rise as a conversation, right? So if you think about automation processes, right? Are our end users really ready to use generative AI to generate code? And the conversation goes something like this, yes, they are. And as they mature, you can start teaching people that don't understand how to script or code, how to script and code faster. But then you always need the second and third tier checks, right? You go to your seasoned developers, you ask them to look at the code that they've been using to see, is it the up to snuff to go into production, right? But I do see that there's an opportunity for a lot of the practitioners here on the floor to start really digging into how to use AI as a tool for learning how to script and code, like things like Ansible, things like Terraform. Right. I mean, I could talk about infrastructure as code
sure.
for days. Right. But then there's also, AI assisted code. Right. We have a whole team that's investigating how is that going to evolve. So, it's
evolving.
Really yeah.
I talk to a lot of people about this, pretty often. And I mean, week to week, we're seeing huge improvements. I was interviewing someone yesterday, and I think it was GitLab. They're now having what they call assistants. So it's not agents. It's more like a co-pilot. But basically, when you code, the assistant will go off and do like sort of the technical writing descriptions for you. And so much of the test, it just goes. I mean, then let alone the agents, where you just tell an agent, go write this or go, set that up. And, you foresee a day where, and there's a couple of trends going on. People moving out of these hyperscaler cloud centers back to data centers.
Yeah.
So you just, you could see a Dell having a Dell setup agent that you say, hey, go set these up. Maybe it's on a hypervisor.
Yep.
Set up my Red Hat, and it's done for you. I mean, the same way we're saying AI could write code, AI agents could actually set up your infrastructure. And that to me is mind-boggling as someone who started in the data center world, where you had to always have your tool belt with your screwdriver to rack and stack.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a crazy thought to think of.
It really is. And for somebody like me who was afraid of scripting for so long,
I know.
And it's pretty wild.
The good news is it's not even scripting. You'll be able to talk natural language.
True.
Say, agent, go do this, that, and this for me. And
yeah.
Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is, we announced yesterday the launch of platformengineering.com, our newest site for Techstrong. We're excited. I know Dell has some, thoughts and
Yeah.
goings on around platform engineering. Would you share a little?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. So, really looking at, so I love looking at the practitioners, right? When we go into the briefing centers and we're talking to our customers, and I alluded to this earlier, going way back, it's always been about the different types of admins, right? And traditional admins. The platform engineer to me is a very interesting piece because we all want that one and all tool to provide, abilities to make it seamless and easier for those end users to do. Right? I mean, this is the age-old story. We could go on and on about how many windows we've created, GUIs that people can click and launch an application and to be able to use it, right? And sometimes, it just doesn't happen that it gives them everything they need. And I'm really feeling like we are on the edge of something, no pun intended, that we will be able to have a platform for infrastructure that these types of engineers that really want to be able to give a catalog to their application developers to be able to go launch whatever they need. They need more storage. They need a server upgrade. Anything that they need without creating the silos that we've been complaining about for the past 5 years.
Sure.
Right. And those engineers, and it's going to be interesting to see, I do believe platform engineering is going to stick. I've already mentioned Apex Cloud Platforms as an example, but we also have in our booth this year, we have AI Ops for the first time. So looking at incidents, right? Being able to provide that window to observability in addition to native edge and other solutions. So what we really see is this culmination of what Dell is creating. It may be multiple different solutions, but they're all looking more and more like a platform, like a catalog, right? We don't have anything to hand over that's a one and all, but we can definitely have conversations with our services teams and things of that nature.
So unlike Dell, I always like to jump in a little early.
Yeah.
and I did it with DevOps. We did it with Cloud Native when it was contained.
Yeah.
With Container Journal, which was the name before Cloud Native now, was really going to have the word Docker in it. I'm glad I didn't go that way, but I couldn't. Docker own Docker.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was down in Austin and I came back and I said, well, we shouldn't really use the word Docker, but containers. But I told him, I said, there was this other thing that they were talking about called Kubernetes, but it seems so hard. I don't see how anyone would ever use it.
Mm. Yeah.
Another right decision by me. Anyway, but we do think platform engineering has its future in front of it, right? And these things right now are kind of very point solution-y, if you will. But they're coming together into just sort of this way of doing things, right? The same way DevOps, and we have ITSM, and we have Agile. And,
exactly.
All of these kind of SRE. This is yet another discipline here that I think it's part of the factory, right?
Yeah.
The way we run IT today, it's like a factory. So very excited with that. Anything else with Dell you want to tell us?
No, I think, the best way that people can find us is through developer.dell.com still. And, I'm excited about 2025.
Absolutely. So am I.
Thanks.
We're live. We're at KubeCon. You just heard from Dell here. We have a lot more folks coming up today. Stay tuned. This is Alan Schimmel. We're out.
This is Techstrong TV.
Hey everyone, we're back here live at KubeCon, and I'm really happy to introduce my next guest. His name is A.B. Periaswamy. A.B. was on Techstrong TV. Oh, it's got to be 3-4, maybe more months ago, right?
Yeah.
He is the co-CEO of a company called Min.io. We're going to hear more about that. A.B., welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here in person, live at KubeCon, in the middle of this whole chaos.
It's wonderful to be here.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about you. I mentioned your co-CEO. That's not a usual kind of situation. How did it come about as co-CEOs at Min.io?
So I'm also a co-founder. And when you are a co-founder, titles don't matter.
right?
especially early on.
Yeah, right. I think it's not just true early on. Look at the best performing companies around; they are still founder run.
Yes.
Right. I think when the
No,
founder leaves,
that's a very tricky.
yeah,
It's like making an omelet. You got to break some eggs.
Exactly,
And then
exactly.
some eggs get broke in that.
yeah, absolutely, right. You have to be entrepreneurial. The market is so dynamic and so
Yeah.
fast. You need to be entrepreneurial to actually grow the business. I'm going to be here as long as it takes, and titles don't really matter. I will. I have to do whatever it takes. I will even pick up garbage so my team can do the work.
As any founder who does that is worth their salt knows, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. MinIO. I'm sure there's a lot of people out here. They're not familiar. Explain to them the MinIO business.
So MinIO is an object store. If you look into the public cloud, like you have cloud storage, when your data grows and when your data is sensitive at scale, particularly the AI data, you are going to go to a private cloud. When you go to private cloud, you're not going back to the traditional SAN, NAS, and virtual machines. You want your private cloud to look exactly like public cloud. You're in the public cloud, sure, MinIO runs there. You can use AWS S3 or Google Cloud Storage. When you go to private cloud, we are the only one who can scale at that level. And nowadays we are seeing all the AI deployments have reached multiple X scale. It's just so crazy, right? And MinIO is basically a storage system for storing your AI data.
Got it. Now, sounds easy. Of course, the world between AI and video and just everything that's going on in the world of technology today, the scalability of the solutions that is required for these for today's use cases, it's crazy.
It is.
It's. I mean, it's almost like it's like when how we talk about planets and suns, and you really can't get your head around 500 light years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're at that, but we're getting near those kinds of numbers in storage and access. Give us an idea. I mean, you are rather humble and modest, but talk to us, what are the use cases where MinIO is really kind of shining these days?
So the open source side, we are everywhere. Use cases I cannot imagine, right? Like the product was never designed for those cases because the product is so versatile, so simple, so efficient. It just runs everywhere. But all that success led us to MinIO becoming an industry standard. We are the single largest player in the object store space by adoption. But as a business, we want to be picky about the use case that we want to go after. Increasingly, it's now all our commercial success is coming from the AI data space. And the reason being that the size is so large, this is a problem that we are uniquely positioned to solve. So the commercial use case, I don't want it to be many use cases. When it comes to open source, we want to be everywhere because you want to create an industry standard. When it comes to commercial journey, we are very picky, and the use case that we are going after is AI and database, data processing. If you put data at the heart of your business, we want to be the system where all your data is, so you can do large-scale AI and data workloads on us. So the use case that we are really focused is AI use case. The use case where MinIO shines, it's all over the map. We kind of boiled the ocean. We needed to do that to make an object store an industry standard. It's a new technology that born in the cloud, and now it has to reach everybody.
So the use case is all over, but let's, so I didn't do this always, right? I had started a bunch of product companies, co-founded, and one of the things I learned in running product was you got to remember what your corner cases are versus your main cases. And if you are just developing a product strictly for those corner cases, you're a loser, right? You've got to go after the mainstream. Sometimes you just got to walk away and say no to the corner case because it's not what you're designed for.
Exactly.
But in today's world, what we used to maybe think of as a corner case is now, especially when it comes to usage and scalability, it's now the everyday. if you wouldn't mind, share with our audience kind of your, let's call it the highly scalable kind of use cases that you are encountering.
They kind of fall under the hyperscalers. Maybe they are level 2, level 3 hyperscalers. Probably they don't like to admit it that way. End of the day, that once you cross 100 petabytes nowadays, they actually call it a scalable unit. But these large scale customer of ours, 100 petabytes used to be gigantic just few years
Still
ago.
is gigantic.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
In the Gen AI world, is completely different.
Right.
100 petabyte is baby cluster. Jonathan would like to joke it as baby pod. Right? And the scale now is multiple exabytes. At multiple exabytes, when you are sitting in the public cloud, they absolutely love the public cloud infrastructure. They love the convenience. If you have unlimited budget, I would tell you just stay in the public cloud. But nowadays, modern businesses, the unit economics drives everything. And also the scale of AI, starting point only is so large, they know how fast it is going to grow. They are now capturing more data than ever. And the data is unstructured data. Audio video is multiple times larger than a row or a table in a database. When this data grows, they are anticipating a tsunami of data that's going to drown their organization. At this point, that's where customers bring in Minayo, and the scale, they put them under hyperscaler, and the customer behavior has changed as well. When you are small scale, you traditionally bought an appliance, completely integrated SAN or NAS and VMs. You can't do that in the AI world. AI world, the entire infrastructure has been ripped apart and put together completely differently. It's no longer CPU is the heart of your compute, it's GPU. The network, 100 gigabit is too slow. We are talking about 100 gigabit per node, each node having dual 100 gigabit is too slow. 400 gigabit is the new starting point now. Even that is a bottleneck. The thing is that, why do I need this? Why do I care? If you don't put AI at the heart of your business, you're going to miss out very quickly. The industry is transforming so fast. The companies that adapt to this new environment is going to succeed. And AI has already shown the promise it can do to your business, particularly the enterprise business. That data is their core asset. AI helps them unlock value. So this is not a choice anymore.
Right. Absolutely. So sometimes numbers matter, though. Share some numbers of some of the bigger installs and customer. You don't have to name names, but give us an idea what we're talking about.
These are basically like in exabyte and multiple exabytes, and they are now, some of them actually are now starting to look at, I need to plan for 10 exabytes. The enterprise market, even the commercial banks, they were at 100 petabytes, and then that grew to 500, 600 petabytes, even during the Hadoop and analytics era. They are pretty much, if you talk around like commercial, like all the major banks and FSI segment, they would tell you that they already have 500 plus petabytes. The problem they have now is they need to plan multiple exabytes now if they are going to modernize it. They are modernizing it for AI. Now you can see for all the large enterprises, exabyte is kind of the new starting point. And if you are if you only have 10, 20 petabytes of data, for you to play a big role in the AI market, look at who is going to win in this market. Not the ones who has the largest GPU infrastructure, the ones who has the most data. The companies who has most data, figured out how to unlock value of the data, are the ones going to win. Tech is easy to acquire. Data is not. Data is your property. Everyone can acquire tech, but not everyone can acquire data.
Well,
so more data, more money, and that's the scale.
Unless you're one of these people who just took like a whole copy of the internet and made that your data, but that's another story.
Yep.
You know, it's interesting you said that, though, because I actually interviewed someone earlier. So they're offering, let's call it GPU as a service. So it really is just hardware as a service. Look, at a time where you can't get a lot of GPUs, it's a commodity, but it very quickly becomes a commodity.
It is.
And so that's not a business one wants to get into. On the other hand, though, is there a limit? Like, how much data is enough already?
I think if you ask the customer, they will tell you it's never enough, because Data is like the more information you can extract, it's not like it depletes. Compute, once you compute, right, like that computation is done. The advantage of the data, the more you accumulate, the valuable information you can pull out of it, it compounds very quickly. The bigger data has whole new, like emerging behavior, it has whole new insights. So the more data means it is better. And also, when you take information out, you don't deplete it. The more you make, it's just like making software copies, the data keeps on paying you. A simple way to understand this, Instagram, WhatsApp, these kind of tools, right, TikTok, the amount of money they are spending on their infrastructure is insane. But how can it be possibly free? You don't even pay $1 a month, not $1 a year.
Someone's got to pay for this stuff.
Data, right? And that is the behavior now is percolating down into the enterprise. Data will not only pay for all of the infrastructure multiple times put together, is going to power your business. If that was not, look at the consumer world, it's already proven. And that's now coming into the enterprise, and AI has just shown them the way.
So does there come a point of pushback though? Like we're seeing this, we mentioned before, some of the AI models, let's say borrowed liberally from other people's data because it was available on the internet. But you still own that data. Does there come a point where it's like diminishing returns?
I think it is more, it's not from the data point of view. Data, there is always more value, and there is like, there are different kinds of information you can pull out of the data. The models are, on the other hand, that they are evolving. We are still in our infancy. Even what is out there, just if you took the open source models alone, you can unlock incredible value out of your data. So, should I wait for larger and larger models to come? We are already at a point where we can start showing impact on the business. And the next phase, every 6 months, is going to just move so fast. I actually don't see the problem of that there is a diminishing return. If that's the case, you would have seen this with all the Meta family, all the consumer TikTok. They would stop taking data, right? They're not. Instead, more data is only getting better and better. Why are those companies so powerful, so well positioned to become the next generation of super mega brands? What differentiates them? What is their moat? That data is unique property of theirs. So what enterprises are now starting to realize, the questions you can ask on a public LLM, any GPT, anybody can ask. It's trained on a generic world knowledge. There is no point in you trying to download the internet. But what you have for your business, GPT cannot answer. It's unique property of yours, more data that is unique to your business that you can unlock. There is no end to it. The more and more data is going to get better and better.
I love it. Hey, we're out of time. They're telling us we had more to go over. But most importantly, for people who want to get more information about the Min.io object store, the website?
Yes, min.io.
Let me ask you a question about that. Word is that they're doing away with the IO top-level domain. The company, the country that was the IO, that island in the Indian Ocean, became part of Mauritania or something. What do you hear? Are you worried? What do you think?
I think it's really hard for them to let go. But it doesn't matter to us. We have Min.ai as well, right? It's end of the day, even if you see how people discover the websites, they just go to search engine and then the browser takes you. Right? Even if they drop the top level domain .io, there is going to be a transition period where it will redirect. And if the world changes, it's not just alone. We are alone suffering. .io was the TLD of choice for majority of the companies, right? It was cooler compared to .com.
Right.
And it's not us. If the rest of them are going through the same journey, I'm okay with it.
I think it's a huge money maker.
It is.
Why would you walk away from that revenue? But whatever. Anyway, AB, it's a pleasure to have you here in person.
Yes.
Min.io here at KubeCon. We're going to be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Cloud Native Now is the web's leading resource for the growing cloud native ecosystem. CloudNativeNow.com is your destination for news, thought leadership, features, and webinars on cloud native architecture, Kubernetes, serverless, cloud native application development, microservices, service mesh, cloud native security, and more. Stay on the cutting edge of modern application development at Cloud Native Now.
This is Techstrong TV.
Hey everyone, Mitch Ashley here. We are at Atlassian Team 24 in Las Vegas. Great conference. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement about announcements and great people. People come for community activities and being part of the conference or just checking out the new things that are happening, maybe making announcements themselves. So with a great pleasure being joined by Kate.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yes, hello. Thank you. Thank you
And
for inviting me.
You
this
bet.
Conversation.
AppsBio, right?
Yes, AppsBio, yeah.
Avio, okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about what AppsBio does and your role in the Atlassian ecosystem. That sounds like such a big question.
Okay, so I am in the Atlassian ecosystem a long time, I guess, because I've been there since 2017, so around 7 years. And at AppsBio, I am a chief product officer, but I'm also one of the co-founder. I created this company with my two colleagues, Chris and Peter. And we are Atlassian marketplace vendor, which focus on ITSM area. This is the direction in which we would like to develop our company and also ourselves. And I'm so happy because we've recently being rewarded as a Marketplace Partner of the Year in the ITSM area. So this is a huge recognition to us, and I hope that it will be a new chapter in our company. But also in my life, because Jira Service Management, this is a product which I really love, which I use every day. And I try to be a real expert in this product. Also, I have a huge pleasure to organize Atlassian live learnings in Jira Service Management in this area. Also, I am Atlassian community leader, and I am also in the part of Atlassian Creator Program. So as you can see, I have a lot of roles in the Atlassian ecosystem, but of course, being part of AppsBio, this is the most important role now, and I'm so very happy that we can be also a sponsor this year during the Atlassian 2024.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on the honor.
Thank you very much.
That's a massive thing. That's huge.
Yeah,
recognized that way.
Yeah, it's a very important event for us every year, but this year it's really special due to a lot of things, a lot of awards.
So you're not just dipping your toe in the water of Atlassian ecosystem. You're all in. Why?
Yeah.
Why Atlassian? Why is this such the place you've been so invested and want to continue to build a company around and all the community and the other things that you do?
So I started as a technical writer in this ecosystem, and it was the beginning. And I remember that. In my first week, I didn't know what is the epic or story in Jira, and it was so difficult to me to understand all these connections or linking between these objects. And now when I'm thinking about it, I feel that I have to laugh because it was so easy. But at this time, it was something new, a new word to me. And I think that why I'm still here, because people. We have a fantastic community which is created around the Atlassian. Also, people who are really engaged in building this community. We have people from different parts of the world. We organize a lot of Atlassian community events. We have also a very active online community. We help each other. I think that it's something which is really unique. And it's not only about Atlassian products, but also about people who use these products, who share the knowledge, how to use these products. And I think that it's fantastic. And this is why I really would like to be here during such events, being as a leader, being in this community. So I don't know if we have any other such community like Atlassian, and also such products and huge portfolio with different products, not only for one type of team, but with different offers. So I think that it's really unique, and this is why people stay for a long time.
There's lots of things to do, lots of things
Yes.
to be involved in. Is your evidence?
Yeah, you have got a lot of options. You can really engage in it.
You always have a great party too.
Yes.
At this event. It's
Yes.
always a lot of fun.
Yes,
I've been
it's
to it
true.
before.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to think about, because I've worked with Atlassian for a number of years too, and they kind of grew up in the SaaS world, and then the development tool, then the DevOps, and of course Confluence and documentation. So there's a lot of places people have gotten involved with using Atlassian technologies now, team and the intelligence and so many new products that are out. What is your favorite thing you like to work on when you're using your technology with Atlassian's products?
So definitely Jira Service Management is in my heart.
Kind of fits in the ITSM space a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And this is very close to customer experience area, which is also a very important part of my professional life. But of course, Confluence, I started creating documentation for products in Confluence. It was the beginning. And it's a fantastic product to share knowledge in team. And I think that it's a huge value if you are able to create company in which people really want to share this knowledge and they see the value of sharing this knowledge. So also we use, of course, Jira software, Jira Work Management in our daily work. And we see that now it's a one Jira, because it's one of the big announcements that we have got now. Jira, simply Jira.
Just Jira.
Just Jira.
In a good way, just Jack.
Yes,
right?
yes, just Jira. And I think that we can see that now this differences between developers, testers, some managers, some people from marketing. We don't have such differentiations between these teams, because we have got one team. People with different skills, with different perspective, but we have got one team and one goal, which we would like to achieve together. So I think that it's a good decision that Atlassian decided to change Jira Work Management, Jira software to Jira, just Jira. Yeah, and it's great. So yes, we use a lot of different products, but Jira Service Management, it's in my heart.
Yeah, it's. I know what you're talking about. Bringing that together, well, of course, makes so much sense. I'm sure there was a lot of work to really make that happen seamlessly. What do you think that will? How will that affect the end users, the customers? How will they see that? Or will it be kind of behind the scenes mostly?
I think the huge value is that we don't have to switch between tools and between ecosystems, because we have got everything in one place. Atlassian offers products which are for different purposes. We have got Bitbucket, we have got Compass, so something more for development, for DevOps. We have got Jira Service Management, we have got Confluence to share knowledge. So I think that every area in the company can be used using Atlassian products. So we don't have any gaps. We don't have to use some another tools, and everything is around Atlassian. So I think that's it's a huge value in case of sharing data, because also we have got some Atlassian analytics, for example. So everything in one place, and it's really good. And also I see the value in such approach in new things, new product which was announced during the team, so Atlassian Rovo. And I remember that last year during the Atlassian Team 23, it was a huge announcement, Atlassian Intelligence, and we saw, I can summarize the ticket. Wow, it's great. I can summarize the Confluence page. Oh, it's great. But it was very small in comparison with what we have now. Because
it's only been a year too. Isn't it amazing
yes,
how fast this is advanced?
Yes, because after some time, after this announcement last year, we saw a new level that we were able to search and to use Atlassian intelligence across the whole instance, so across all products. And also, this is fantastic that we have got all these products from Atlassian, and we can use also Atlassian intelligence across these products. And I think that it's a huge value. And it was a new level on using this new product. And this year we have got Atlassian Rovo, which is a completely new stage in case of human and AI communication, because it's not only about one ticket, one Jira instance. Now it's about more tools, because we are able to connect some external tools, external data, and thanks to this, we as a team can find data across, for example, Google files, across some data from some external tools. So I think that it's something huge. Also, another thing in this, in case this Atlassian Rovo, that our teams can learn a lot. Because we have got option to chat with AI, we have an option to build some knowledge base. Also, what is something really interesting, and I think that it has got also a big potential for marketplace vendors. It's called agents. So thanks to agents, we can build some workflows which are supported by Atlassian Intelligence and Atlassian Rovo. So I think that it's something really huge, and it's totally different using AI in our life and in our teamwork. So I'm very happy to see what will be next. But it was only 1 year that we started from this simple issue, and now we have got something huge, something which is, I guess, crucial for enterprise companies. So we'll see what will be next.
That's the thing, organizations at an enterprise scale, you know, the problems you might have on a 200-person company or a couple thousand-person company, those problems become pretty unsurmountable. They're really tough to tackle. And it seems like rather than having it all stuck in some other database and trying to make some way of getting access to that easier, it sounds like Rovo is a much more of a user-friendly, positive user experience. You can worry about all that, and it's going across, Atlassian and other sources as well.
Yes. So it's not only about Atlassian now, but also about other tools, other solutions which are available on the marketplace. So we'll see in which direction Atlassian will develop it. But I am very happy that we are a part of this history.
Great. Let me ask you, the honor you received about being was it partner of the year for ITSM? Is that
yes?
You got the right word.
Yeah.
Why do you think AppsBio was chosen? What do you think? What is it that stands out about the company?
I think that our huge value is that we are really focused on this area, and we would like to be an expert in this area. So we build everything around this topic. We not only build apps in our portfolio around ITSM, because of course we have got apps like feature bundle, like customer and organization management, also issue merger. So a lot of apps which are for different audience, different persona, but all these apps build a new customer experience, I guess. And we really try to redefine this customer experience, and also we think what will be next in case of Atlassian Rovo, because I think that it will be also something challenging to us. So I think that this is it, this value, and we really think how to educate also our customers. In case of Jira Service Management, so this is why I'm very happy that I can be a part of Atlassian Life Learning, because thanks to this, we can we can present people. Okay, so this is how it works, and you can see benefits from what we have in Jira Service Management. But also, we have got apps, and we can extend these possibilities, and we can also make some customizations for your companies. So we can do more. So I think that this value and this focus is really important.
They say, once in a while you hear like musicians or writers talk about, I create things for myself because I enjoy it, right? And the fact that other people really love it too is even better.
Yeah.
But the fact that the creator loves their creation, you follow that pattern too, it seems like.
Yeah, I think that in our times, creativity is something which we really need, because of course we have got a fantastic tools. We have got AI, which is the hottest topic now. But I think that we have to remember that we are still humans, and creativity, teamwork, some collaboration, some workshops, brainstorming. This is what we really need. Especially after this pandemic time when we were at home alone and we didn't have a lot of space to being creative, I guess. Because without people, I think that it's difficult to be creative. So this is why I really love to be in this community, because exchanging these ideas, because of a lot of discussions. So this is what allows us to be creative and make something bigger and different.
Fantastic. Where can folks find out more? Where can they check it out, download, try what you do at X-File?
Yeah. And we are an Atlassian marketplace. On the Atlassian marketplace, you can find there our
Probably
apps.
knew the answer to that. I didn't have to ask, right? Just check it out on the app on the Atlassian marketplace.
Yes, Atlassian marketplace. Yeah, but also you can find a lot of good solutions, good ideas on the Atlassian community, and this is what I really recommend to visit and to be the part of this community, because when you feel it, you will stay it.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Talking with us and sharing not only the great news, which which is fantastic news, but also how this community and the technology and the work, the people have all evolved into really a great passion. So hope others will join in.
Yeah, this is our tagline, that create apps with passion.
There you go.
Yes.
Love that. Great.
Yeah.
Kate, let me say your last name correctly. Is it Pavlak?
Pavlak.
Pavlak.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Been fantastic talking with you. You're interested in Atlassian. You're already part of the community. Wonderful. But it's a great place to be with lots of great people like Kate.
I'm Bonnie Schneider, Sustainability Contributor to the Techstrong Group. I'm excited to introduce you to a groundbreaking new initiative from Techstrong Research, the Sustainability Pulse Meter. The Pulse Meter offers valuable insights into how environmental responsibility factors into tech purchasing decisions for key players in the industry. Position your company as a leader in the industry and differentiate from your competitors with the Sustainability Pulse Meter, offered exclusively from Techstrong Research.
All right. Hello. My name is Robin Yeaman, and I am going to be talking about enhancing resiliency and efficiency, building systems in highly regulated environments. So this is me. I spent over 28 years in this field, and 26 of those years I spent at Lockheed Martin as a senior fellow. Just recently published a book on industrial DevOps, which is the application of Agile and DevOps, again, to large-scale, safety-critical cyber-physical systems. And so that's what I'm going to walk you guys through today. Thank you. So let's begin with the challenges. And there is a lot, right? So when we were looking at, applying Agile and DevOps. You had a number within software. But when we get to hardware, when we get to things that are cyber physical and safety critical, we have a couple of others. One of the big ones are long lead times, right? It takes a long time to procure hardware and get it in place. There's some pretty expensive test requirements. We have to deal with multiple dependencies, right? So if I'm building a missile, I have a variety of dependencies. I have things like complex risk management, and then a very large attack surface. Once we connected everything together, the attack surface went up exponentially. We have safety and reliability concerns, and then regulatory requirements. I'm going to walk you through some of those. Here you can see, for example, if I'm manufacturing a satellite, I have procurement. I have multiple components and sub-assemblies that I'm going to get from a variety of suppliers. And this takes time. In this particular case, thermal vacuum chambers cost hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And the tests can take months long, right? So the whole rapid feedback is much more difficult in this domain. I have multiple dependencies. So can you imagine all the dependencies that a satellite constellation has? There are hundreds, right? So multiple dependencies, and we need to link those together. I have complex risk management. So when dealing with GPS, for example, things that can happen to me are solar interference, frequency crawling, signal degradation, jamming, spoofing, and that's, some of those are environmental as well as IT related, right? So there's a variety of different options there that I can deal with. An extensive attack surface. You can see here all of the places that a satellite could be vulnerable, right? So everything across the supply chain from my onboard computer. And then even things like, the ground system and things that are happening outside. We're going to talk about high stakes reliability and safety. For example, here you can see that NASA has a variety of standards under 8,000 that space vehicles have to comply with. And one of the problems that you're going to see is that a lot of safety standards and things are occurring in areas where typically you'd see a phase gate. So what does that look like from an Agile perspective? Regulatory and compliance hurdles. So things like, ASPICE for automotive or ISO 27001, right, for information security management. There's a lot of compliance that we actually have to build into our pipelines. Now, is everything lost? Hopefully not. All right. Again, most of my experience has been building large-scale safety-critical cyber-physical systems. And myself and Dr. Suzette Johnson put together a set of patterns that we believe can actually support and overcome these challenges, right? The goal is that I need to be able to get the same benefits that I did in software, such as adapting and rapid delivery and rapid feedback within cyber physical systems. And so how do I do that, right? Because the market is still requiring rapid delivery. So we used a variety of bodies of knowledge to come up with this work. Everything from Agile and Lean and DevOps, but also things like systems thinking, design thinking, and, different highly regulated, things like FMICA analysis and formal methods. So the first pattern that we came up with is organizing around the flow of value. And I know that many of you probably believe that, hey, I organize for value, but is it organized for value in order to deliver a system? So here you can see, say I'm building a rocket. I've got program management, systems engineering, design, hardware engineering, software, tests, and operations. And in many large companies, these are individual areas of excellence. They're silos. So once they complete their piece, they're handing it off. And that requires a lot of extra time. It also impacts the quality. So program management, they're typically looking at cost and schedule, and they might be looking at lean management. Systems engineering will talk a lot about systems thinking. System design, they're talking about design thinking. In the hardware world, we're talking about rapid prototyping. In software engineering, you're going to hear them talk a lot about agile. In test, you hear things like shift left. And in operations, we will refer to ITIL, or IT Infrastructure Library. And here's the thing. Each one of these processes in all of these environments are actually looking to deliver at the speed of relevance, right? They're trying to deliver, but inherently, because we have handoffs and a different language, we can't even talk together, right? Organizing around the flow of value is about organizing across this chain, not within these silos. The next pattern we use is multiple horizons of planning, right? So typically, agile, you've got people maybe planning in 2-week sprints, and that's okay, except that it doesn't actually, work well when I have to integrate over multiple years to build things, right? So in Waterfall, you're seeing integrated master schedules that are multiple years. That doesn't really work well either, because a lot of that's made up or assumptions, and the moment anything changes, which it always does, it is no longer valid. So we said, hey, we have to connect those together. And really, we want the multi-year plan that breaks down into the annual plan, that breaks down into a quarterly plan, and then breaks down into a sprint plan, maybe every 2 weeks, breaks down into a daily plan, right? And each of those horizons of planning, I get empirical data from. And one of the things I'm going to do with that empirical data is I'm going to use that to inform the next horizon of planning. So here, for example, you can see Artemis, right? So, Artemis uncrewed launched in 2022. And we were supposed to see Artemis 2 crewed test flight actually launch in 2024. But based upon the horizons, based upon empirical data, they actually had to move that, right, to 2025. So they're using empirical data to further inform the next plan. And when you're building large-scale systems, they do take multiple years. So second principle, bring these things together, multiple horizons of planning. The next pattern we found is implementing data-driven decisions, right? And currently, the technology has improved so much that with cyber-physical systems, there's a number of ways we can get that empirical data regarding what we're building. So things like simulators, emulators, digital shadows, digital twins, which is basically the intersection of, the model that has full telemetry and the working system with telemetry, and we're feeding that back and forth, and 3D printing. So while these are not all new, the technology now is currently at the state where I can get real-time data-driven decisions. And this can be seen, for example, Astari. So Astari just was awarded a contract to actually digitally certify the X-Wing fighter. That's amazing. And the amount of time reduction that's going to take when building cyber-physical systems is huge. The next principle we're going to talk about is architecting for change and speed. Again, not a completely new principle, but we want to look at that modularity with standard interfaces. This allows us to make change later in development, right? This impacts that whole monolith, and be able to change pieces in and out. Now, this isn't typically how things were built in the past, right? So a lot of legacy has to undergo things like, refactoring to get to this modular state. that's critical in order to optimize for change in the future. There's a new approach that we've seen a lot of lately, which is software-defined X. So software-defined X is we architect based on the software. And so you're looking at software-defined satellites, software-defined weapons, software-defined vehicles, and it has the maximum amount of flexibility. The next principle we're going to talk about is iterating and managing queues. All right. Here you can see the software acquisition pathway. So DoD 5087. And DoD 5087 put together to allow much smaller batches. Now, while it began as the software acquisition pathway, people are leveraging it for larger weapon systems as well. And you can see here that they're iteratively planning and giving real capability to the stakeholders, which then reduces the amount of rework. Right? In the past, we'd go off, we're going to build, let's say, the F-16, we're going to build the whole thing, and then we're going to say, is this what you wanted? And if it wasn't, it's pretty much too late to make any kind of significant changes. Here, we're going to actually have that continuous feedback, which is going to allow us to have much smaller batch sizes, and it's going to allow us to adapt to change, which right now, things are changing every day. The speed of light, right? So it's really important to be able to adjust and adapt. The next pattern we're going to talk about is applying cadence and synchronization. So you can see here, I have a series of MVPs, a minimum viable product, and NVPs, which is the next viable product. And I am putting all of my teams that are building this rocket on the same cadence with tight integration points. So you can see the avionics team, for example, they're integrating every single one of these. But the environmental control team, well, they are not on the exact same, time box, but they have those intersects, right? Now, it's critical that each of your teams, when building anything, have this common cadence and synchronization so that the system will actually come together, right? If everybody's on their own timeline, it extends it a lot more. The other thing is, if you've ever read Principles of Product Development Flow, Don Reinertsen goes on to explain that in manufacturing, the number one priority is to reduce all variability in the system, everything. But in product development, we want to reduce bad variability, and we want to exploit good variability in the way of innovation. Well, that's really difficult. So we want to make sure we remove as much noise from the system. And that's another benefit that cadence and synchronization brings to the table, is it allows me to see those areas and make a better determination of bad variation and good variation, right? Because it's a little different than manufacturing. Next, we want to integrate early and often. And here you can see a missile program, right? And they're integrating every single sprint. Many times people will tell you, hey, I need much longer sprints for hardware. I'm not saying that that's, not true in every single case. But in many cases, they can actually be on the exact same sprint as software. The difference is I'm assuming that I'm not 100% done. I'm not deploying something, but I am learning something. So here you can see they've got their breadboard set up. They've got their net chassis that's linked to it, and they can validate at this stage in the program, this integrates, it works, we can send messages through. It's not deployable, but I can learn. When I wait to integrate, in every case, I keep all of my risk till later. All right. My very first program when I was, just starting out in engineering was working on a submarine. And I can tell you that it took, multiple years to build the submarine. Cool. But then we did integration and tests afterwards. And it took even more years to integrate it and test it, as opposed to integrating as we went, right? And buying down that risk. It's a different approach, but it's required in order to reduce our timelines and be able to adapt to change. If we leave that integration till the end and things magically come together, they almost never do. Next principle we're going to talk about is shifting left, right? And I want to begin with test. People are aware that we need to test and validate. In many cases, they'll tell you, hey, I need somebody completely different to test. And the reason that is because whoever built the product is going to know how it works. So they're not going to be the best tester because inherently they're going to use it the way it was meant to be used. But if you begin with test, you kind of remove that problem. The other thing is you build exactly what's needed, not extra, not less, exactly what meets the test case. So while many people will tell you it takes longer to do test-driven development, it just feels like longer in their state, but actually it's much shorter to get to the customer. Here you can see McLaren, and they do a lot in the way of digital engineering and shifting left. In every single case, they basically make an adjustment to their system, and they make an adjustment and validate in their digital environment. I was told, and I thought this was really interesting, that if you use the exact same car that you started the race with in Formula One, and you were the fastest car, and you didn't make any changes during the race, you would no longer be the fastest car, right? So they're constantly having a hypothesis, testing in that digital environment, and pushing to the system even during the race. So I think it's just fantastic. The last principle I'm going to discuss is applying a growth mindset, right? And in our culture, especially in safety critical, over time, right, we were like, we can't fail. Well, we need to rethink that. We can't fail. We can't fail in a place where I have human impact, right? I definitely don't want to fail there. But all of the other steps in prototyping and evaluation along the way, that's going to allow me to push past my boundaries and learn, right? I'm going to learn the fastest. So here you can see SpaceX. They put out a tweet that said, hey, you know what? Look at how successful we were. We've got all the data we need. But, right, from a traditional, contractor, I can tell you that many traditional folks would have not considered this blowing up rapid unscheduled disassembly, like they call, or RUD. They wouldn't consider that a success. But basically, SpaceX is trying to learn. And we can see over the last decade that they have reduced the cost to launch so much that most people are leveraging their vehicles, right, to send satellites into space. Or to bring astronauts back from space because they've been so successful. And the reason they've been so successful is because they're constantly learning, right? So, and the best way to learn, I hate to tell you, it's when we fail. So myself and Dr. Suzette Johnson and others have been on a journey since 2018, and we have written multiple papers through IT Revolution and Gene Kim's publishing group on industrial DevOps. The latest one we've done is on digital twins, and up next will be coming out AI-enabled digital twins. If you're interested, here you can get a free first chapter of industrial DevOps to determine if it's interesting to you, if it makes sense to you. And if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can probably even get you a free digital copy of the entire book because I still have some. But you've got to reach out and you've got to give me feedback. And with that, I am completing my presentation on how to apply Agile and DevOps to large-scale, safety-critical, cyber-physical systems.
Hi, my name is Caroline Wong. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Cobalt. I am delighted to be here with my friend Nariman. And today what we're going to talk about is OWASP SAM. So I wanted to start out by sharing, I started my security career nearly 2 decades ago, leading information security teams at eBay and at Zynga. These were incredible places to be working in cybersecurity. And in both cases, we were running online operations 24/7 with millions of simultaneous users daily. eBay had an uptime requirement of 99.4% and is one of the first major electronic commerce shops enabled strangers to transact with each other over the internet. Zynga was growing incredibly rapidly as an early adopter of Amazon AWS. In 2009, the Zynga game Farmville launched, and in just a few weeks, the game went from 0 to 10 million daily active users. A few months later, it rose to 80 million daily active users. After eBay and Zynga, I published a book on security metrics, led a global product management team at Symantec, performed software security assessments at Cigital, and in 2016, I joined Cobalt, where I currently oversee our delivery teams. I am so excited to introduce my friend Nariman. Nariman and I met recently in San Francisco at the ThreadModCon Threat Modeling Connect conference, and we discovered that we have a shared passion for frameworks and maturity models. Nariman, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Caroline, so much. I'm very excited for this podcast and to address our DevOps community because I've been in software development for a bit more than 20 years now. I did it all. I did competitive programming. I did the backend, front end. I did DevOps work for many years. I did cloud development. And the last 8 years, I'm very closely involved in cybersecurity, doing that now full time. But I'm still sitting together with my DevOps friends in still the same room in my office. And I work closely with them as cybersecurity architect. The company I work for, it's a huge corporate for European standards. We have about 8,000 developers, 25,000 people globally. And my challenge, my role there is to roll out a scalable maturity program for application security. I do often see challenges that my DevOps colleagues are having and want to talk a bit today about it. So and share with you, Caroline, and with our audience. In particular, if you want me to start with that, my observation, we are asked these days to adapt our build pipeline and to introduce security tools. If you are not asked, probably you are in the wrong organization. It's a very hot topic. All of companies these days expect that. SaaS tool, DAS tool, SCA tools, scanners, secret management, secret authentication tools. But what I see is company invests a lot of money, but then, and we as DevOps guys, girls, put lots of effort, but then these tools are hanging there and developers sometimes check them, sometimes not, unless security officer or architect like me go after them and say, are you cleaning up the queue? Are you cleaning up the criticals or not? Of course, there are very mature companies that have this automated process, but I'm talking about this overage company that have a tool but not doing anything about it. And as a result, I believe that return on investment is very low. And we need to look in a bigger picture, like why developers or our colleagues, non-developed colleagues, don't look at this. So finding the problems is easy. So you can automate the tools and you can find more and more issues or problems. But it's hard to motivate the people to take the action. For this, as I said, bigger picture is important, and we need to have a right buy-in from management. Yeah, the governance activities on cybersecurity side is very important. We need to make sure that software architects are involved, that we have a security champions program in place, that we have some verification state activities, that QA people are very interested to verify and look that from security perspective, quality gate are met. So there is a lot of stuff going on. And if you're only focusing on pushing your DevOps agenda, we will not succeed. So we need to look at the big picture. And since 16, so last 8 years, initially I was introduced to BSIM, and I believe, Caroline, that's your expertise domain. BSIM and OWASP, these two frameworks, and we will tell about them in a moment, These two frameworks help you to assess where you stand in the company from cybersecurity maturity perspective, understand what's going on, and then plan with the very small steps how to improve for each organization separately. So I would suggest, Caroline, would you like to give a few words about BSIM? Because we can share our screen, we can explain exactly what this framework is, and perhaps we influence more people to join us in this project.
Yeah. So Nariman and I are so excited to talk to you about OWASP SAM. I want to just actually share a couple of stories. Nariman made the observation, it's actually quite easy to find security problems. We have so many tools to do this, and I remember when I was leading teams, security teams at eBay, we are hiring penetration testers. We have a responsible disclosure program. We have many different scan types. And what happens is we actually build up these mountain of bugs. This was a time when everyone is going into the office. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, the best way that I can get a developer to take some action on these bugs, I will go and I find their desk and I sit on their desk and I wait until they will come talk to me about it. And maybe the next day I buy them a coffee or a cookie or something like this. But actually, this doesn't scale. The other place that I want to share about is when I was at Zynga. At this time, I am reporting to the Chief Information Security Officer. The Chief Information Security Officer is reporting to the CIO. And the CIO says to the Chief Information Security Officer, hey, you have a lot of smart people on your team, and they seem to be really busy. But how could I possibly know if they are working on the right things? As Nariman mentioned, I do have extensive experience with BSIM. I had the pleasure of conducting more than 36 BSIM assessments. And so that is where my familiarity with software security maturity models come up. So now what we'd like to do is introduce a little bit about OWASP SAM. Nariman, can you tell us what is a maturity framework and how does a maturity model help with software development?
Right. So here I give two examples on this page, but basically maturity framework, it's a structured way to assess what you're doing for security. It helps you to the assessment, especially OWASP SAM is based on that. It has the tools for that, the questions, the criteria to do the assessment, and it has tools to help you to build your roadmap. In a very small incremental steps, you can make plans phase by phase where you want to focus on. You do right prioritization with the right metrics. Caroline wrote a book about metrics, by the way. That's very important for prioritization. And as you go, you reassess, and your development teams will feel like they have some progress. There are only two competitors. I'm showing here OWASP SAM and BSIM. OWASP SAM is a community-driven project with lots of great people that are there to support you. They have community calls. They're on conferences. This is a living project all the time. Shall we go to the next slide, Caroline?
We shall. And actually, just with that, I want to provide one difference about SAM and about BSIM. So whereas BSIM is a descriptive model, SAM is actually a prescriptive model. And there is a specific advantage to the prescriptive model of SAM, which I'll ask Nariman for you to talk to us about. So what is this mappings all about?
Right. So if you want to get an ISO certification, or if your organization already has some frameworks that they want to comply, like NIST cybersecurity framework, you have to compete against them in the beginning. But actually, if you want to get this ISO, this NIST, the SAM is a place to start because it is as I said, prescriptive model. It explains how to reach there. You divide in small steps. For every step, there are community-driven guidelines where you can find exact explanation how to achieve it. And of course, there are lots of communities, calls, Slack channels where you can ask questions. So we all together as a security industry are helping to improve the overall maturity of our companies. Of course, target audience here today are DevOps people, but I assume you have some interest for security if you are listening to this particular session. So if you're interested in security, as I said, you need to look at the bigger picture and not focus only on DevOps part. That's why we are talking about this ISO and frameworks, because probably it's time to push and time to promote more an organization, to change the culture of the organization. And we are showing you different tools and how this framework can be used in your organization.
Yeah. I just want to add a quick comment, which is to say, I think that when developers are looking at security activities and trying to decide what should I prioritize, I have limited time and I want to focus my attention on the most important things. I do think that a model like this can be important so that a person or a team can consider the different activities to be done. I think that there's a very difficult question to ask when it comes to cybersecurity, which is how much should we do and why? And I think one way to look at it is to use benchmarking, to look at, okay, what sorts of things is our competition doing? What sorts of things are our peers doing? And so, Nariman, I'll invite you to tell our audience a little bit about the model that we have here.
Okay. So, as DevOps engineer, probably you are involved in the implementation category, secure build, secure deployment, to make sure that the build process is secure, that your deployment is secure. But if you're not happy and you see that there are some gaps, as I said, you need to focus on the bigger picture. And on this model, you can see all other categories that we need to promote. Like, for example, governance, all the buy-in topics, the training, the security champions program. In the design phase, when you start a new software, you want to do threat modeling, you want to assess the risks early enough. In the implementation phase comes the secure build, secure deployment, verification activities, the QA work, the assessments, and after release, you have the operations activities. So this model covers all of them. And as DevOps engineer, if you want to make a difference in the company and you want to promote improvement on cybersecurity side as well, my suggestion would be to take a SAM assessment form and without first getting the permission to use it for the full organization, do a SAM assessment for your department, for your business unit. Invite somebody responsible for governance, for design, developers, architects, and for verification, for operations. See what is your score from 1 to 3, from 0 to 3. And you will be seen as this proactive person that is thinking about the secure posture of the company, and you can demonstrate where your gaps are. And probably then your scope will, of course, you will still specialize on DevOps, but you will demonstrate the big picture, like where the problems are and why DevOps tools we introduce aren't so effectively used. Okay? Okay, so this a bit deep diver to the model. It has business functions, as I explained. For each function has a group of practices divided in categories, and each of them has streams. Can also go to next slide, please, Caroline. Okay, so every activity in the model on owaspsam.org, you can find exact description. What is the benefit of the activity? And what is activity all about? How it's supposed to be done? There are also guidelines how to implement it. And every activity is actually divided into multiple levels of maturity. So the level 1 of that activity would be about what you should do as bare minimum. Level 2 is what you should do as a good company that cares about security. And level 3 is when you're expert in security. In the next page, I can show you example for a DevOps-related topic, for example, for secure build. On level 1, what is expected from you? The question, is your full build process formally described? It should be clarity, right? How you build your software. And the SAM, owaspsam.org, the model, will have exact quality criteria, exact questions that you need to ask yourself that you see here at the bottom left. If you say yes to all of these questions, you can answer yes to this question for this level 1. And for level 2, it will be more complicated. It will say that, is your build process automated? And level 3, is it like all reproducible, etc.? So level 1 is very simple. Can you show the next page? And for answers, you also have multiple levels. You can say, yes, that's true for some applications, for half or for most application. And based on your answers, the Excel file, or there are multiple tools available to do assessment, you will see a score from 0 to 3, which is calculated per business function or for the whole of your organization that you can later demonstrate with nice charts and graphics. And yeah, as I mentioned, it's a community. It's a public, it's us behind it. It's me, it's Caroline, it's my other colleagues from the SAM team. We are populating these guidelines. We are trying to write explanations, how to achieve the maturity. And you're all welcome to join this community too, to participate together with us.
Yeah. I just want to say that the community, I think, is a very defining factor for OWASP SAM, because the thing about software development and security activities is that they are evolving all the time, and in order to get involved with the group, then you can actually speak with people like Nariman, who is overseeing application security for a group of 8,000 developers. I'm happy to contribute what I know with regards to security metrics and my previous experience with BSIM. So we really encourage folks to consider become familiar with OWASP SAM, join us on one of these working group meetings, join us in the Slack channel, and we really look forward to seeing you there. You can find Nariman and I both on LinkedIn, so don't hesitate to send us a connection request. We'd love to learn more about what does DevOps look like in your environment? How are you thinking about software security, about maturity, about frameworks, and so forth. So, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you soon in an upcoming SAM meetup.
Thank you, Caroline. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
DevOps.com is the #1 online destination for DevOps education and community building. DevOps.com covers all aspects of DevOps, including DevOps best practices and tools, DevOps culture, DevSecOps, business impact, continuous testing, continuous delivery, and more. DevOps.com has the largest collection of original DevOps content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.devops.com to learn more. DevOps.com, where the world meets DevOps.
This is Techstrong TV.
Hello and welcome to the Knowledge 24 conference hosted by ServiceNow. This is the first in a series of interviews we did at the show, and our first person here is Jeremy Barnes, who's Vice President of Product AI for the Now platform at ServiceNow. And we're going to be talking about initially, at least, what happened in the last year. It seems like LLMs went from, my God, they're going to transform the world, so now it almost feels like they're commodities. I can bring my own in certain announcements that are here at the show. There's multiple ones that you guys are working with. It seems like each one might over-specialize at times. So it's been a year since we last chatted. Look back and say, how did we get here and where are we?
Well, where we are is at a place where it's no longer a brand new technology, but it's something where people are using it for real outcomes. And so like any technology, there's a lot of excitement at the beginning, and then after that, there's a lot of hard work. And I'd say we are a lot further through the hard work part than we were when we began. And we've also discovered as people get to know the technology, their ambitions are increasing and there's more stuff they want to do. So the one-size-fits-all model doesn't work anymore. And so we're meeting our customers where they are, saying we want to do these extra things that we hadn't thought of at the beginning. And that's why our strategy is expanding too.
As we operationalize AI, it seems to me that we've gone from thinking about all these techniques that would be required to expose our data to the LLM and how we were going to manage that. And there was a lot of manual thoughts around that. Now it seems like the whole thing is becoming much more automated. And so how do we manage the data that we have in the enterprise versus what's in the LLM. We hear more about knowledge graphs these days. How's that all coming together?
Well, we took an approach on that where the promise of the ServiceNow platform is that we don't own our customers' data. And so the way in which we work is it's much more about grounding the data, the LLMs in our customer data, that it is about training these models over everything. One of the reasons you're hearing less about all the data part these days is because the LLMs are getting to the point where even if they're not trained on the specific data, they're now good enough to solve problems. We know how to prompt them, we know how to bring in grounding information, we're beginning to learn how to make them take action and do things with the platform as well. And those are things from my perspective, that has not gone away. We've just had so many people working on it, we're taking those problems away from our customers and bringing them into the platform, been solving them as we go.
To what degree do you think people are going to have to become quote-unquote prompt engineers? Because it seems like we're making the platform more transparent to the average end user.
Yeah, so our goal and really what we deliver is that our customers won't need to be prompt engineers in order to get value from the platform. Now, some of our customers want to do kind of new and exciting things, and so what we want to do is meet them where they are. If they want to do a small amount of customization, we want to do it in a platform way. We don't want them to learn a new skill set, right? This concept of prompt engineering, everyone wants to become one. It's probably not something that everyone actually wants to invest the time to do well. So make it so it works out of the box for most customers. Make it easy for our customers to dial it into their use case. And then we're a platform, so if they want to build something where they go full-on prompt engineering and make their own LLM and things like that, that's fine. They can do that on the platform as well. But not all customers need to do that.
ServiceNow has a long history of providing the automation frameworks that a lot of folks depend on. The LLMs themselves have some automation capabilities. Where is the line between what the ServiceNow platform does for automation and what the LLMs are going to wind up doing, especially as they get smarter?
Yeah, so my personal perspective is that the LLMs actually aren't good at automation. So what they can do is they can give you an idea of what you would do to automate something. They can't do the automation themselves. Right, you need a platform, and you look at a simple process, like make a recipe or something. Okay, it can tell you the steps to make an egg sandwich or something like that. You look at something complex, which is doing some kind of a workflow that involves 3 or 4 departments, and you might need 5 or 6 human beings in that workflow to either approve things, sign off, bring in their own perspective on it. You can't have that happen in an LLM. It can't talk to those people, it can't coordinate them, it can't ask for approvals, it can't track the work as it's being done. And so what you need really is a true workflow automation platform. The LLMs help you leverage that platform, they help you get more value, they help you to interact with it. But the actual work is done as part of a workflow, not by the LLMs themselves. And so LLMs are just a small part of the overall picture here.
I feel like we're kind of on the cusp of a Cambrian explosion of applications. At the show, you guys are talking about a no-code tool that lets the average end user go build an app. Theoretically, we could have hundreds, thousands of applications that organizations are building. How do we bring some order to what could easily become some potential chaos here? Maybe too much of a good thing.
Yeah, well, I think first thing to point out is that there are already hundreds or thousands of applications in our customers built on top of the platform. And they often have to spend large amounts of resources in building, in maintaining those applications like that. So taking away some of that work and making it easier for them to say, this is what I need, and have it come out, that's a net win for our customers. Now, once you've done that, then you've built it, then the question is how do you deploy it, maintain it, and things like that. There's advantages in using large language models for part of it, but that's part of what our customers do anyway. They have their teams, they build their KPIs, you can measure and track and take inventory of things. So long as you're doing it inside the platform, you have the full visibility in terms of what you're doing. You can discover things that are already being done, things like that. And so the important thing there is to make sure that you lean into the platform. It's designed to have hundreds or thousands of business applications for each of our customers. Works just fine for that already. We're just making it easier and taking away some of the work and the pain in setting that up.
How do you think automation is going to evolve from here with all this? And I ask the question because we have seen islands of automation for years now, and they're slightly disconnected, and the handoffs are disjointed and they're not as tight as they are. Is that friction going to drop? And for that matter, will the silos that we have artificially created around sales, marketing, whatever it is, start to kind of collapse a little bit as things become more interwoven?
Yeah, I think that's going to happen, but there's multiple things at play here. So there's firstly the technical systems where they speak different API protocols or things like that, and they need to be bridged. And AI is starting to be good at that kind of thing. Doesn't really matter what the data looks like; it can figure out what it is and use the data to solve a problem. There's a second problem though, which is disjointed IT systems, and a third problem, which is disjointed organizations where different departments are the only things. For the second one, you need a common platform, and that's what we provide. And with the integrations, we help bridge other platforms around. The human part, AI is not going to solve that human problem. I think what people are going to discover is that there's a huge opportunity out there, and it's going to be worthwhile. We're seeing at the C-level now more and more conversations about, okay, this is owned in the whole organization, not just in a department here and there. So we're going to see more enablement at the corporate level of that. But that's something that anyone who wants to lean into generative AI is going to have to work out in the context of their own organization.
I think one of the things we have seen in the last year is a greater appreciation for data. The adage still exists: garbage in, garbage out. AI models kind of highlight that in ways that are complex and, shall we say, lead to hallucinations. Do you think that the rise of AI is forcing us to revisit data management and, as such, making us rethink our platform strategies?
Certainly the traditional platform strategy, which was that you take best of breed for an individual application area and combine them together, that is starting to be rethought because often if you want AI to do a good job, there's garbage in, garbage out, but there's also, you need to have the context, right? A particular claim, if you don't have the full context, how are you going to evaluate it properly? Like that full set of information. And so there's really a question of, it's not just the quality of the data, it's having the right data available in the right place as part of the workflow. And again, it needs to be segmented, there's regulation around things, it needs to be governed, it needs to be maintained. And so what we're seeing here is data is an asset for the entire organization, but it needs to flow through the workflow in a natural way so that the right data is available in the right place at the right time. And because artificial intelligence allows you to do cross-cutting horizontal workflows, not just the vertical ones we've seen before, that's creating a different way of thinking about data, which is how data flows within your business processes rather than where it's stored and sits statically.
We have seen everybody coming up with something that feels like an AI assistant. There's a lot of different flavors of it. How will these AI assistants know about each other and kind of work together? Because a lot of times I'm asking it to handle some task in an asynchronous fashion, but now I've got all these different ones doing these things. How do we kind of bring them together in a team?
Right. Yeah, so I think there's two aspects to that. There is the experience aspect, which is where do you go when you want to talk to or work with your assistant or your team of assistants, as it may be. And here we're seeing a bunch of solutions, like some solutions where one AI, you can call and you tag it and it'll hand it off to a different AI. Other places where it will you'll tell it what you want, it'll send you to a different system to complete the request there. So as an industry, we're still trying to figure that out. Now, what's important is that when you're trying to actually take action and solve solve the issue or the request, you need the intelligence to be in the right place. You can't have this intelligence, which is this central intelligence, which knows about everything, because it's going to be like a jack of all trades but a master of none. you need to make sure that the intelligence is embedded in a platform which has all the data, which has the ability to take action, has the ability to follow up there. And so what we're seeing is that's crucial. And so how we design around that is something we're still working out as an industry.
How do you think the way we work is going to evolve? You've been doing this now for a couple of years, but you've been working closely with customers in the last year. There's a bunch here at the show. What have you seen that's kind of surprised you, or what are you seeing or hearing from your customers that you went, I didn't think we'd hit that, or maybe they're telling you things that are things they wish they knew a year ago before they started?
Right. I think for me, the most surprising thing that I've heard from our customers, apart from some of them are just crazy ambitious. Okay, that's the absolutely crazy ambitious. This is something that they're going to take and they're going to run with it, and this is going to change their business and everything there. But the other thing I've heard is that it's very, very easy to just listen to the hype, to see, I saw this demo. And this demo is something that's, someone like some startup did it, or this, the thing, this proof of concept. And they say, wow, this is going to transform my business. And so then they go with the idea that after a proof of concept, there's 95% of the work done. It's not, it's 5% of the work done. The other 95% is in the future. And so what we're seeing with a lot of our customers is taking these proof of concepts and bring them into reality. They're discovering all the gaps that you have. And this is the stuff which some people would consider boring, like how do you set up your security policy properly, or how you deal with compliance, or how do you make sure that the data flows in real time so that you're not waiting for the answers or things like that. And it's all these kind of little things which don't make the demo but make the actual application where people are getting stuck on. And so what we're seeing from our customers is this this realization that the path to get to value is not about just cobbling things together. It's about having a way where those things are already brought together in one place so they can build with confidence on top of a solid foundation.
To come back full circle, seems like every day I wake up and there's some new advance in the realm of LLMs. They're getting more expensive, they get bigger, they get smarter. But not everything requires these complicated LLMs. Some things can be handled by smaller LLMs. So do we just need to get smarter about orchestrating what LLMs we're using for what purposes? And where does that manifest in the platform? And do I need to care, or will you handle that?
Yeah. So in response to the last question, you can care if you want to, if you're a customer. But we do care about it, and we think about it all day, every day. And so, we'll have you covered whether you care about it or not. What we're seeing though is, a year ago everyone was talking about these LLMs, what can they do? As how many billions of parameters, and the more billions the better, right? That was the idea. You want just to have most billions possible. Well, you know what? These gigantic LLMs, they can do really cool stuff, but you've got to be able to do prompt engineering. It's easy to get wrong. And then these LLMs, they can go off the rails because they've seen so much data. They've seen stuff that maybe they shouldn't have in the context of an enterprise. And these LLMs also, they can be slow and they can be expensive and things like that. And so we're discovering that it's not just about the size of the LLM. There's a lot of other characteristics that are important. And so that's what we observed. That's why we started down our domain-specific LLM strategy. Is for some tasks, we want it to be much smaller. We're interested in what it won't do, not just what it will. And we want it to be, really fast, really, great in terms of the economics, and much more robust. And so by designing an LLM for a use case and saying one size does not fit all, you're able to solve things much better. Yes, they could be solved by a large LLM, but you have a much better solution when you can kind of open up the black box and say, there's not just one LLM for everything. And so our approach from the ServiceNow platform is to say, the right LLM for the job might be a general purpose one, might be one you trained and bought yourself, might be an open source one, might be running on the platform, might be running off. Whatever the best solution is, that's something which you'll get in the ServiceNow platform. So you can build with confidence knowing that you don't have to keep up with reading the scientific papers about the new advances, things like that. you can build your application and know you're solving a real problem, and it'll stay solved.
So you think there'll also be more awareness that, the cost of all these LLMs is different over time based on how big they are? Is the ROI that you mentioned, the economics, becoming a bigger conversation these days?
I would say that for most of our customers, it's more related to their budgeting cycle and the way in which they've thought about their 24 budgets. There are some who are at a large scale in terms of their generic Gen AI efforts. Our customers who use Now Assist, it's very, very predictable. They know kind of exactly what they're going to pay, and we make sure we take care of the economics. So for our customers, it's not such an issue. But for those who are building different kinds of applications, I'd say most are not at the scale yet where it's really important. You hear it more in the really early adopters or the really giant companies who've been doing it for quite a long time.
When you talk to customers, are they kind of doing let's let 1,000 flowers bloom approach, or are they maybe going after one or two use cases that they're going to do well first before they try to boil the ocean?
Yeah, also last year our customers had small budgets and they did proofs of concept. And so that was definitely 1,000 flowers blooming. We saw, all kinds of sometimes amazing, sometimes, crazy ideas bought by our customers saying, hey, this is what generative AI can do for my business. This year, it's become much more a year of, okay, we understand it can do a lot of things. We're going to have to rationalize it because they're not going to build teams where they can run 1,000, independent use cases, each with its own team like that. They're being forced to, as it moves into the closer to the heart of the business, they're having to put everything around it to support it, to maintain it, and to keep it running well. And so those concerns are starting to become more important than they were before. As they move from it's a brand new technology to this is something which we need to make real in the context of our business.
Do you think generative AI is also shine the spotlight on the other forms of AI that we've had for a while, predictive, causal, whatever it may be, but are people starting to understand that this is only one form of AI and we need to mix these things together to get to the right outcome?
Yeah, from a purely technical perspective, there's not that much difference between generative AI, or the line is not nearly as clear as people would think. The way that I see it is generative AI is more like machine learning 2.0, which is it's machine learning, but doing what they'd hoped it did before. Now it actually doesn't, right? And so it's more flexible. It solves the kinds of problems that you'd hoped it had before. So from that perspective, yes. I mean, you want to use the right tool for the job. If you can solve something with a simpler model, which is not gonna go off the rails and cost orders of a magnitude less, why wouldn't you solve it with that kind of a model? And so generative AI will become part of the toolbox. And for some applications, it'll be absolutely vital. For other applications, it won't be used at all. At some point, it's not going to be really important whether it's generative AI or not. Is it solving the business problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah. We're at this show, and I know that you've been around here and there. Any use cases at this show that really pop out at you where you go, wow, that's truly innovative, or something that just kind of you looked at it and you went, wow, that just blew my mind?
Yeah, so if we look a little bit further into the future, there we're starting to see people dream in terms of generative AI. And so, what we are seeing from, most of this is coming from customers, to be honest. The stuff that we show, the generative AI functionality we show, it's my team who's involved in building it a lot, so it's not really new for me. But when we hear our customers dream, they are really thinking about, where does their long-term competitive advantage come from? And so things like I've seen customers who are using generative AI in order to test out designs in order to understand, if they're usable or not. And that kind of thing there, which is like, this is an issue for them, in their business, they need to have the best usability. And so, thinking how can we use generative AI for that? That's one example. But, there's almost as many ideas as there are customers out there. And, that's what I find really inspiring about it is, the it really allows people to be creative and imagine that something where they don't see the exact solution. They think, well, maybe, just maybe not now, but maybe very soon I'll be able to solve that. And so, yeah, we're seeing a lot of stuff. It's from our customers.
Are you seeing people kind of reinvent themselves in their jobs as a result? I mean, we hear a lot of people talking about, concerns about loss of jobs, but it seems to me like it's almost like a blank check to go rewrite my job and create a whole new job. So are people getting creative, and are they having that level of imagination?
Yeah, I think there are multiple ways that people react to it. For us, I mean, our interest is in the future of work, right? But, work is done by people. I mean, it may be assisted by generative AI, something like that. Work is done by people. And so, those stories that we're hearing about how people are mapping out what their job is going to be like in the future, that's really core to what we think about and the future of our business. When we design our generative AI functionality, we're solving problems that are really concrete problems. We observe people, through statistically as what they're getting stuck on when they're doing their day-to-day work, like where their outcomes are not matching the KPIs and things like that. And so the kind of the near-term horizon of it is it just makes it easier for people to be successful in the way that they define success in their job. There's a whole lot of other things, and people are reinventing themselves, and some people are very, very excited. Some people are scared, but I think a lot of people are very excited about it too. And what we're seeing is how that plays out in real time across all of our customer base, because in the end, it's our customers who choose how to deploy it and what they want to work on. And we kind of partner with them, and we get to see and learn, as through their eyes and their employees as they're doing it.
All right, folks, you heard it here. It's not so much about who or what you were, it's what you want to be. Hey, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks.
And we'll be back in a minute.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.